Salute, MobTube. How's everybody doing today on this rainy Sunday? At least here it's raining. It's been raining all day. But that's all right because there's a beautiful invention that I use often called waterproofer for my sneakers. And as long as I have that, the rain isn't that bad. It's all about the sneakers, guys. if I'm going to give a key piece of advice to Sam Pay It Forward. This show is for him. He asked a question yesterday about how to stay happy throughout your sobriety. And one of the tips I'm going to give him is buy sneakers and buy lots of them. Buy lots of sneakers, preferably Jordans, Air Max 90s, Air Force Ones, things like that. I think it'll help. Anyway, all jokes aside, let's see. What we got here? We only got 21 people. That's all right. I scheduled this show like 35 minutes ago, right before I took a shower. And, it's addiction recovery and it's Sunday, so we might not get that many people. But I think we will. It'll just take time. Dave Antonino, Miss Can't Be Wrong, OC, Bobby Berberian, Jesse Roth, Brooke Lynn, Michael Hensley. We love you too, bro. I'm going to talk about you in a second, Michael. Let me see. Kimberly Berlin. Good to see you. Yes, absolutely. Kimberly, as a matter of fact, you or Don, if you feel like it in a few minutes after I go through my spiel and you'd like to hop on and give some advice, you're welcome to. But if not, you could just do it from the chat. I was actually going to ask Jimmy Calandra to come on today for a minute, but I couldn't get a hold of him. I called him 5 minutes before the show, so he's probably eating dinner or something, But that's all right. That's all right. There's something I want to go over before we get to the main subject. Don Berlin says, I know for many it includes getting out of one's own space or head and doing things for others, at least for the moment, or at least for that moment, one is not thinking about present day troubles. Yes, very true. That's why I stay busy, my friend. I stay busy. I told you, boredom for me is death. It's very dangerous. I don't let myself get bored. I always got to be doing something. If there's nothing to do in the house, I go out. I'll find something to do. Because there's always sneaker shopping. Don't forget that. Okay? At the very least, you got that. Selfie Queen Cindy, hello. John DeLong. Gilded Age. Let me read this. Gilded Age, FBS, I want to thank you for mentioning the need to be grateful. I have been going through a rough patch, and your comment reminded me to look around and be thankful for all that I have. Hear that, Gilded Age. And yes, I think it's the most important thing you could do. And you don't have to be in recovery. You don't have to be struggling with addiction. Listen, we're Americans. We're spoiled. At least most of us are. We're spoiled. That's just the way it is. Americans are spoiled. We have it very good here in this country. Okay, so to forget just how lucky you are, because there's always more that we want. If we got a nice car, we want a nicer car. If we got a nice house, we want a bigger house, whatever it might be. You know what I mean? You're never satisfied. Most of us are never satisfied, and that's no good. That's very, very dangerous, that state of mind, always wanting more. Be grateful for what you have. Look around and think about everything. Like me with my wife, for example. I mentioned Friends yesterday, and I'm going to talk about that for a little bit, okay? Because I did what I knew I would do, because I did not plan that show for that long. I get an idea and I just do it. So I said yesterday I was going to leave some people out. Now, of course, Shanna goes without saying. She's not just my best friend. She's my wife. She's my angel. She's my hero, in all honesty. But we're talking mainly about just friends here, okay? I named some subscribers, and there's a couple I forgot. Which I knew I would do. And I'll forget some today, too. And this might go on for 2 weeks before I mention anybody, or maybe I'll never get to everybody. But I got a very nice text message from Chris Capello today. And I thought, wow, how could I not have mentioned him? I may have yesterday, but I don't think I did. And I apologize to Chris for that. And he absolutely deserves to be included in that list of friends because he's a very good dude. He's been very good to me and Gunsmoke and Shanna and all of us. He calls me and checks up on me. He lets me know about things that are going on. He's a good guy. Um, I want to also say some of the people, like, you got to understand, yesterday I was mainly going over content creators and subscribers. Some people I forgot are content creators, some aren't, things like that. But Bill Catolo Jr., okay, now he is a content creator. And I can't believe I forgot him because I got to be honest. One of the best people I've met, one of the most honorable men, uh, and best family man, yeah, family man I've met on here, um, is Bill Catolo Jr. Okay, I don't know if I said that right, but yeah, Bill Catolo Jr. Okay, he's a great guy. Great guy. I built a friendship with him over time. As a matter of fact, we hit it off pretty much right away, but we've had a lot of phone calls, long phone calls talking about stuff. I've told him private things about myself and my life. He's told me private things about himself and his life. And I feel terrible for leaving him out. But like I said, there's so many people to think about sometimes. But Bill is definitely up there. I consider him not just a friend, but a good friend. Um, Good guy, and like I said, honorable, regardless of what you want to think about him, you know. Yeah, I don't care about that bullshit in the past, and for people who think that makes him a bad guy, um, your thought process is ass fucking backwards. Okay, so here's another one. I think of kind of like a brother, Bill Catolo Jr. And then today, right? Today, that's what I meant to say earlier. I knew I screwed. I'm so OCD. Look at this. I said one of the best family men. I think I meant to say. I'm so OCD, guys. Anyway, I'll start the whole show over. I listened to Jimmy Calandra's show today, and as you know, Jimmy is a very good friend of mine. At least I consider him a good friend. And he had Don Berlin on, the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend, Don Berlin. And I was listening to them talk, and I wanted to kick myself in the ass because I said, holy shit, of all the people I mentioned, I didn't mention Don Berlin. Unless my memory's bad and I did. And if I did, I'll do it again. Don Berlin has been such a good friend and a support system and everything else. He's helped this channel financially. He's helped me personally, privately. He's such a good dude, such a good person. I don't know how much you know about Don Berlin, but he's not a nobody. I'll tell you that much. To say he's a somebody is what's the word I'm looking for? It's an understatement. You know, he definitely is. He definitely is. He's an important guy. I'll say that, to say the least. Okay. And I can't even count the ways he's helped me and the things he's done for me and my channel and Shanna, by the way. He did things for Shanna just, for no reason at all. Just, and now Kimberly, she's becoming a friend. So, I can't believe I left some of these people out. And you know me, I will never be able to rest until I express that. And I let everybody know that not only did I forget some people, I forgot some of the most important people I should have mentioned in that list of friends. And I listened to Jimmy Calandra and Don Berlin um, talking earlier. It was a very good show, guys. Just so you know, Don Berlin is going to be Jimmy Calandra's co-hosts, I believe, every Sunday at 1 o'clock. Okay. And I think that's a perfect pair. I really do. It's the odd couple, but at the same time, they mesh well together. They bounce off of each other well. Um, Don Berlin is like this super educated, highly intelligent man who's fought in wars and served the country and all types of other shit. And Jimmy Calandra, is I don't know how you describe him other than like the quintessential street guy. Like he's seen it all. He was part of a very vicious, violent crew. He's got all types of stuff in his head that I'm sure he'll never get out. He has PTSD. He has to. He's dealt with all types of loss, and I guess you could say they both fought wars, except Don fought actual wars and Jimmy fought wars in the street. But it's a good pair, even though they're so incredibly different people. Such incredibly different people. I'm sorry, they really are. So I was listening to them though, and I was clicking on and off because I was doing shit. But almost every time I clicked on, it's so crazy. Almost every time I clicked on, they were talking about me in some way, and they both had such kind words to say about me. They also talked about Mims pretty in depth, and Jimmy sent his prayers, and you could tell, he feels horrible for the friends and family of Mims. And Don said some very nice things, and then when talking about me, they I'll tell you what, it brightened up my day. I'm walking into the gym and I hear them saying, I hear Don talking about these addiction recovery shows and how much he believes my sobriety means to me. And you're correct, Don. It is number one to me because without it, I have nothing else. Nothing. Even money. It comes before money because without it, I'd have no money. Well, and without that, you have nothing, So everything I've gained throughout my sobriety is, So anyway, I want to thank Jimmy and Don for that. Not only was it a great show, but they said some very nice things about me. It wasn't necessary, and I appreciate it very much. But anyway, the reason I went into that spiel about friends is because we're talking about being grateful. And that's another thing I'm grateful for. The countless people that I've made friends with. And I know, maybe I use that word loosely. I don't think I do. In my opinion, no, you don't have to meet people. Listen, I fucking have known people my whole life that have stabbed me in the back numerous times. Complete and total traitors, scumbags. And then I've met people on here who have been more kind and generous and supportive than anybody in my personal life. Anybody, with the exception of, Shanna, my daughter, my mom, stuff like that. You know what I mean? As far as friends and shit. So that's another thing to be grateful for. I think about all the friends, and again, there's people I didn't mention. Howie Santos and me got very close. Now he's busy with life right now. Unfortunately, we don't talk that much anymore. That sucks, but it's nothing more than the fact that he's just very busy now. Every now and then he texts, he lets me know how things are going and shit. But, that's how life goes. People get busy with life and they don't have time for each other sometimes. But I could go on and on and on and on and mention all types of people that I feel like I've become friends with, and I'll never get to all of them. So there's no point in trying. But that's another thing to be grateful for. Be grateful for the people in your life. And everybody has somebody. And if you don't, I feel terrible for you. Because I'm sure there's some, that don't. But if you have friends, if you have family, be grateful for them. Be great. Because let me tell you something. Look at what we're finding out with Mims. 1 second you're here. Nobody feels any danger of losing you. Why would something happen out of the blue and then boom, something does and you're not here anymore? And we've all had experiences with death and stuff like that throughout our lifetimes where we've seen examples of that. I was on the phone with a friend 1 minute, 10 minutes later, he got ran off the road. His car flipped. He got thrown from it. The car flipped 5 times, landed on top of him and crushed him. And he died on some stranger's lawn, And that's not even to mention people I know who have died of murder, suicide, drug overdoses, even a friend who died of an aneurysm at 20 fucking years old. Car crashes, everything. Everything. So, it's... Why do you think I'm so grateful for my mother living here? It's every day that I get to spend any type of time with her. I cherish it because, let's face it, my mom is in terrible health. Her heart is very weak. So you got to be grateful for things like that too. This is how I find happiness in sobriety because now I'm clear-headed enough to realize that shit. When you're using and stuff, even if you have a lot, even if you have a little, you ain't grateful for it because your mind is constantly on a mission. get high, get high, get high, get drunk, get drunk, get drunk. And that's all you can care about because your addiction takes over your whole mindset. Everything is about getting your next fix. So when you finally become clean and sober, and I believe Sam Pay It Forward said that he has 3.5 years now, which is great. It's just a little less than I have. It's fantastic. That is no easy task. Let me tell you, that's a long time to be sober. Considering certain programs like AA, for example, AA has like a 6 to 8% success rate, not 68, 6 to 8. Okay, it's not good. I don't know what the statistics are. Kimberly could probably help us with this, but the average person in recovery probably relapses pretty soon after entering recovery. I'm assuming. So anyway, we'll talk more about this shit as the show goes on. But I did what I said I was going to do, guys. Well, to an extent, I got up today. First of all, oh my God, you want to talk about nightmares? I don't even want to get into it. I had the worst fucking nightmares all night. Then I kept waking up. Then I had a bout of acid reflux that I thought was going to kill me. Okay, horrible. I was keeping Shannon awake because I'm coughing and coughing and coughing from the fucking acid reflux. Disgusting. Okay, couldn't sleep for shit. But once I got up, everything was so calm. Quiet. My mom was out. My stepson's in his room doing whatever he's doing, video games, whatever. Shannon's asleep. She's got to work. And I was just chilling. I made myself something to eat. I just hung out down here for a while. I cleaned some things up a little bit. And then, I started listening to Jimmy's show on and off. And then I went to the gym. And I wish, it sucks because I had just gotten to the gym when fucking they asked me to come on. They were going to drop a link for me. And I would have loved to. I haven't been on Jimmy's show in well over a year probably. But I didn't get to make it. What a good day. And then it hit me. Motherfucker, Sam. I said to Sam yesterday, I'm going to try to fit in an afternoon show, because he seems to be struggling a little bit. So as soon as I got home, I took a quick shower, got dressed, and boom, here we are. So guys, throughout this show, I don't know if Sam is here or not, because you know me, I'm about 2.5 hours behind in comments, even though I've only been on 18 minutes. I like to exaggerate. So I don't even know if Sam's in here. But whether he is or not, I have a feeling if he's not, he'll at least watch the replay of this. So let's do our best to answer his question yesterday, because he asked it on a non-addiction recovery show, so we didn't get into it that much. But all you guys in the chat, I'm not the only one on here who's had horrible experiences and went through a terrible fucking addiction. All of you guys have, otherwise you wouldn't be here. This is why on a regular show I have 250, 270, 300 people, and on these shows I have anywhere between 70 and 100. So the people that are here most likely either struggled with addiction or were very, very close to someone like Miss Can't Be Wrong, for example. Had a brother who struggled with addiction. So you guys have experience in it. So let's give Sam some advice. It might help him. I'm quite sure it will. What do you guys do to remain happy throughout your recovery process? Being sober. Okay. And not only that, but Sam said that he has PTSD. So I can only imagine how much that complicates things. Now, listen, I believe to some extent I have if there's some minor version of PTSD, I believe I do, just because I was in no wars, nothing like that, none of that shit. But I mean, stuff I've seen and stuff that I've put myself through, just addiction. I think if you've ever been severely addicted, you probably have some form of PTSD, but not like war veterans, not like Jimmy, for example. Because let's face it, Jimmy's fucking childhood and part of his adulthood was a fucking war. That's what he was involved in. So, not like guys like that, but, people who have real serious PTSD, and trust me, I've known some. Like, for example, I was in rehab with a guy who was a multi fucking millionaire, and I say multi as in I wouldn't doubt if he was worth $100 million, and it's because he was actually the heir to a very, very large paint company. I'm not going to say which one, of course. But let's just say this. When he left rehab, they took him out in a helicopter. Okay, and they brought him to a limousine just so he could go back to Erie, PA, which is roughly 4 hours away from the rehab. You know, this guy, I felt terrible for him. I mean, he was a, Iraq war vet. And I mean, even the slightest pop or bang would, you know, I don't know what the word is, but not set him off or trigger him. You know what I mean? It would trigger his PTSD, I'll say. I remember I was in rehab during 4th of July of 2019. Okay. And where we were, it was beautiful. We were in the fucking country. We sat out by the pool. There was fireworks. Except John was hiding in the basement between a washer and dryer with his hands over his ears and his hood over his head. Okay. Because the sound of the fireworks was driving him crazy. So people like that, I have no idea. And maybe that's what the type of thing Sam is having to deal with. So anyone in here who has experience with PTSD, you could probably offer some advice to Sam. And if anybody wants to come on who has experience with PTSD, or even if you just want to come on and give Sam some advice, please do. Please do. I'd appreciate it very, very much. Let me see something here. Holy shit. Joe McDougal got a membership, and then he gifted 10 memberships. Wow. Joe, thank you, bro. And it's good to have you back, my friend. Alkayam Putz, Tommy C., another fat bald Italian, Young Hova, Cy Gotkin, Shotty from the GAF, GAF, I don't know. Amy Lou, Bob S., Buddy My Fucking Balls, and Brenda A. were gifted memberships by Joe McDougal. Thank you, bro. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So anyway, enough of me rambling. Let me get down through here, guys. BM 1999. Thank you, bro. As you guys know, there's no need to donate on these shows. If you do, I'm not going to yell at you. That's for sure. You're welcome to if you want to, but I do not ask for donations on these shows. Ranger Fan 11, I got a fucking bone to pick with you. After my show last night, I said, I'm thinking about the Joey Testa thing. And I said, wait a minute, what? Ranger Fan 11 said that he was grandfathered in. He was sentenced before 1982. And it hit me. Joey Testa, or I'm sorry, Anthony Center, both of them. Anthony Center, though, was sentenced in 1989. The parole was abolished in 1988. So I'm like, what is Ranger Fan 11? Is he fucking trolling me? What's he doing? Because no. You don't know how much happened after 1982 with the Gemini twins, will say specifically. You know how what was it? When was it that they killed Vladimir Reznikov? Wasn't that that was in the late 80s, right? 80, 87 maybe 80. I'm not sure exactly, but yeah. I'm thinking he got sentenced in 1982. No, he didn't. He did not. He went to prison in 1989. So I don't know. I think you're getting bad info, Ranger Fan 11. What did I just get? Hold on. My man Joey Dimes said. He said you should have talked up Joey Dimes more. LOL. Listen, I added you to the list, and I believe I said some nice things about you. Joey Dimes is a good dude, period. And he's somebody I met in person. Oh my God! You know what I didn't mention? For the love of Christ, Shinebox. Jesus, see, you don't even think Shinebox. Oh my God, the things he's done for us and this channel and me and Shanna, like. And he's yet another one that I met in person and hung out with for a very, very brief moment, but great guy. See how it goes, man. Shinebox, I hope you're watching this, because I know anybody who saw that show yesterday who is a friend to me and says he didn't include me, that motherfucker. That's why I should never do those shows ever. There was a reason I was doing that one, though. I think everybody understands, Some of my friends are being bashed viciously lately, and I'm not going to allow that. I'm going to defend them to my very last breath. So that's what I was doing. Thank you, Philly Bob. I don't know about that because I am a babbling idiot. Let's not forget. But every now and then I'm okay. I do well. Oh, shit. Joe McDougal, thank you again, bro. Kimberly Berlin says, get out in nature, breathe fresh air, be around green spaces. Nature heals. I agree. I agree very, very much. And I'm no country boy. I'll tell you that fucking much. But it's true. Being around beauty like that. There's a spot we go to in Gettysburg, man. The Sachs Covered Bridge. And it's just such a fucking beautiful spot. I mean, it's, you could just sit there all day and just think. Places like that. For me, it's the beach, the ocean. Oh, it's my serenity. Any time in my life where I've been through a serious struggle that I thought, I was going to, you know, that I was really contemplating some crazy shit. And I just didn't know if life was worth living or if I was going to move on at all. I would take the fuck off. I wouldn't tell anybody. And I would go to Wildwood, New Jersey. And I didn't give a fuck if it was in the middle of January, and it was once. I'd sit right on the ocean, freezing my balls off and stare at the water. If not there, I would do it from my room. If not from there, I would do it from the boardwalk. I walked that fucking boardwalk in the middle of January, and you guys know, I think Wildwood's boardwalk is 2.5 miles or some shit like that. So I think it's like the largest boardwalk on the East Coast. Okay, that's my serenity, man. And that place especially, because I have so many good memories in Wildwood. But I would get a suite overlooking the ocean. Right, like the hotel's right on the boardwalk, the resort, Montego Bay, awesome place, indoor water park, everything. I would get a suite, oceanfront, and I would fucking keep the door open. The sliding glass door, I'd keep that shit open, turn the heat the whole way up in the dead of winter, and I'd sleep on the couch. Just to fucking, not always, sometimes I'd sleep in the bedroom. But I'd sleep on the couch just to hear the fucking ocean, you know? We do that when we go to Ocean City. Me and Shanna, dead of winter. Doesn't matter. When we go to Ocean City, we keep the heat up and the sliding glass door the whole way open. We go to sleep listening to the ocean. So, yeah, people, places, things can be the cause of addiction or at least relapse, but they can also be, they can provide, I'll say, a form of peace and comfort and relief and silence, you know? So they're not always bad things. It's the people, places, and things you were around when you were using. Those are the things you got to get away from. You need to find new people, new places, new things, you know? I found this. Guys, before this, I mean, I've gone over it before, but if you saw where I was working and what it was like for me, you'd understand. It was not a happy environment. But this situation here, this YouTube for me, I wouldn't doubt. I could probably say to some extent it helped save my life because I started this not that far into my sobriety. Well, let me think. 2019, 20. I don't even know exactly. I started in 2021. All right, so maybe almost 2 years into my sobriety. But still, I don't know. I just know that it's one of the things that helps because when you're um, clean and sober, like I said, one of the main things you have to do to keep yourself from relapsing is staying busy. It's also a way to keep yourself happy. Never let yourself get in your head. It's a dangerous fucking place. I know mine is. It's a fucking circus in here. I can't be in the quiet for too long. No. I need action. I need to be doing something. So anyway, I forgot where I was going with that, but yeah. I don't want to fuck it up, Al, so ask Don. He probably answered. I just know he's a senior intelligence officer, I believe. Don, can you answer? Kimberly, be with people who are supportive and loving. In recovery, we can find our tribe in 12-step meetings or church or meditation groups or anything that resonates at a positive level. Yeah, that's another thing, guys. It's funny because people think because I'm an atheist that I'm against religion. No, no, no. I am not against religion. I just don't take part in any type of religion. I don't practice any type of religion, and I personally don't believe in it. But I'll tell you this. I'll tell you what I do believe. Even though I think the whole thing's a fantasy, okay? Even if it is a fantasy, if you believe it, it can help you. Now, don't go too far because it could also make you a hateful person, but it can help you. Going to church, reading the Bible, going to church groups, meeting with other church people, religious people, whatever it may be. Guys, give me 1 second. My beautiful Shanna's leaving. Hold on. Sorry, guys. I had to say goodbye to my beautiful Shanna for the night. She's got her new sneakers on. I'm very happy about that. Blue and white Air Max 90s. And she got some new scrubs, the joggers and stuff. She looks real good. Anyway, I forget where I was at. But oh yeah, I think I was talking about the religion thing. But yeah, I think I've said enough. If that brings you comfort and peace, maybe if you're not a religious person, I don't know, you might be thinking about becoming one, I guess you could say. And if so, whatever you think will help you. Staying clean and sober is key, see, because without sobriety, you're probably going to die. And if you're not prepared for that, then you might want to find anything you can that can help you stay clean and sober. Mob Entertainment Group, Jimmy. Jimmy really warmed my heart. Hold on 1 second. Jimmy really warmed my heart when he said, "Convict nobody should rot away forever and ever in that cage." I was touched. You mean this?
Well, I also wanted to talk about, there's a content creator that actually he just got picked up the other day. He was actually one of the biggest garbage cans on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right? He was a junkie, a drug addict, a garbage can, the biggest piece of shit in the world. Okay, the biggest piece of shit. Okay, but you know what? He's back where he belongs, in a fucking cage. You know why? Well, you know why? Because he's a fucking garbage can. Okay? When you get a second chance in life, when you get compassionate release and you fucking dying of cancer and you're crying the fucking blues and all that shit, and the judge says, you know what? I'm giving you a chance. Okay? Right. Take this chance and use it well, because the second chance you ain't going to get. So wherever you end up, I hope you drop fucking dead there.
Well, I won't say that vocally, but nonetheless, I understand what you're saying.
I'm going to say that. I'm going to say that. But you know what, Don? I'm a God-loving person, but don't push me.
Oh, Angela, the right winger, is going to be doing a show tonight. And yes, I'm not going to lie. I planned on playing that on the later show, but JC just set me up and I had no choice. It's like the pizza's mother's erection thing. I did forget that Jimmy Calandra used the words junkie and drug addict. So not good for an addiction and recovery show. But don't forget, there's two sides to FBS, okay? Two sides. And thank you, Jimmy, for those beautiful words. JC, you're not the only one who was touched by that. I was ecstatic. I was ecstatic. I had to clip that, edit it, and upload it to StreamYard as quickly as possible. All right. Life is so short and so very precious. Yes, it is, Kimberly. Does it? Does it, Kimberly? Because I looked it up and that's not what I read. But you might be right. You know better than I do. Yeah, Al Anastasia can do a 180 in a second. Oh, Miss can't be wrong. I'm sure. Yeah, it's got to be greater than that. JFit, every program doesn't work for everybody. Find what works for you, even if others don't think it makes sense. It keeps you alive. Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you what, like when I was in that rehab, I didn't, I refused to take part in AA, as I told you. So what I would do is I would go to the refuge meetings, and it was pretty good. I liked it, and I I got the book, and I read some of it, but I didn't stick with it long after I got out of there. Um, that's right, Kimberly Berlin, dozens. Miss Mickey the Bully, how are you? Good to see you. Kimberly Berlin, PTSD, trauma, anxiety, and depression all contribute to addiction. Well, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Anxiety and depression is what first made me drink the way I was drinking, you know? Uh, I would drink myself out of panic attacks and I would drink myself to sleep and I would drink the bad thoughts away and everything else. Well, it was a mixture of that and cocaine use. I forget exactly which one really led to it, but probably the depression. Lefty is a better DJ. All right, I agree. Don Berlin. Somehow helicopters and humility don't exactly fly together when it comes to coming into recovery, but at least he landed into sobriety. No pun intended. Well, I'll tell you what. This guy. I'll tell you what his issue was, Don. This is common with rich people. Okay, the use of benzene. You always saw, like in movies, the old housewives who just sat around and took Valium all day and drank wine. Well, this guy got put on Xanax after he came home from war, and I mean that was what, that was in the early '90s, and he stayed on it for 25, 26, whatever it was, years. Okay, and he became a shut-in. He wouldn't even leave his home ever. He just stayed in bed and he took his Xanax and he tried to deal with his PSD any way he could. And Kimberly could tell you, coming off of Xanax after that many years, he was in there. I can't remember. I'd have to ask Shanna, but it was either 3 or 6 months. I know that in total he paid, I forget the exact number, but it was something like $275,000 for his stay there. Because you got to remember how expensive that place was. And he had like a suite with a fucking huge flat screen TV on the wall and a king size bed and tables and chairs and a balcony, overlooking the woods and all types of shit. But the way they had to wean him off of that, oh my God. And do little things for his PTSD, like the counselors would take him to a mall and walk him around the mall because he was agoraphobic too. He had to get used to being around people. Then they would take him to like a busier place like a Target or a Walmart, stuff like that, and get him used to it little by little. And he's one of the only people I didn't keep in contact. I tried to, but I texted him. He never got back to me. I hope he's doing well now. But unfortunately, he's one of the ones I didn't get to stay in contact with, like I said, so I don't know. Ranger Fan 11, I don't know, bro. Yeah, but all right, let's just do this real quick. Hold on. All right, well, let me see something. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I'd have to take time and look through it, but I'm almost positive if my mob history is correct, they were convicted of murders that took place after 1982. I'm just being honest with you, bro. I know you have a personal connection to the family, but I'm just saying. But I still love you either way, and you're probably right. Who knows? No, actually, I don't think you are. Yes, Ranger Fan 11. I will fucking apologize and say, holy shit, you were right. But if he doesn't, what do I want a $100 super chat from you. Don Berlin, the beach for sure. I love going to the Outer Banks, and we fought about using a house until the hurricane showed up. Oh, okay, I got you. I've never been to the Outer Banks. I want to go. Yeah, OC, man. It's the best. Brooklyn, I don't talk about it much, but my children's father came from one of the largest cartels in Mexico. I've spent 11 years in therapy for PTSD. Oh my God. Oh my God, Brooklyn. I'm sorry to hear that. 11 years in PTSD. Wow, but what a fucking relationship that must have been. Not home. That's got to be terrible, Brooklyn. I can only imagine what you're living with. It's got to be horrible. John DeLong, you certainly do, man. It's key. It's key. Let's see. Yeah, he should have. He should have. You know. I'm not going to get into it too much on here. The clip I played, I forgot about some of the things Jimmy said, but still, you know, he is a terrible. He is a terrible human being. That guy, he really is. Tony Ducks, and they shouldn't. John DeLong, yes, there certainly is. So did Pizza go to jail? No. He tried to put me in jail though, but it didn't work. Jimmy Calandra, what's up, bro? I played your clip. And just so you know, that clip is going to be played. I hope I have your permission. I asked for it in the chat. That clip is going to be played probably, I don't know, 17 times per show on my live streams. I just want you to know. Don Berlin, indeed, that was a classic moment. I nearly dropped over dead at my desk, but anyone that turns a gift of freedom into a shit sandwich is a fool. And he did horrible things while he was a free man. Jimmy, yeah, how about that? Jimmy, you want to come on with Don? Let's see. Is that right? Maybe we'll go there. I want half. Okay, is that a reference to this? Probably. All right, Ranger Fan 11. That works for me. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll plan a trip there then, Miss Can't Be Wrong. Who knows? We got to plan a trip soon. It's been like 2 months since our last vacation. No, I was only for a couple of days. Let me drop the link. Well, I'm sure Shanna would love it. There's the link. If you want to grab it, Jimmy. If Don Berlin wants to grab it, no pressure. But if you feel like it, Kimberly, anyone, to have a panel where you were here to try to help a subscriber and give him some good advice and answers. I know Jimmy has experience with PTSD. I know Don Berlin is pretty much a fucking genius who could tell you anything about anything and do it well and better than anyone else can. And Kimberly is just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to addiction and recovery and trauma. She's, a trauma specialist, or therapist. I'm sorry, addiction specialist, trauma therapist. Did I get that right, Kimberly? I hope I did. Well, you have PTSD too, War? Listen, anybody who wants to grab the link, grab the link. We'll hang out, I've said a lot during this show. I don't know how much I have left in me. Drop it again. Sorry I was behind in the chat, guys. You know how that goes. Trust me, it's not easy to keep up. All right, Don, sounds good. Yeah, it's not easy. In order to keep up, you'd have to be going through the chat the whole time, Let me see. Did Bill Catolo get back to me? I don't think he did. How dare you, Bill? I think Don and possibly Jimmy are coming on. I'm not. Oh, here's War. Hey, buddy, what's up?
Hey, bro, how you doing?
Not bad.
Good.
How you doing on this rainy Sunday?
The rain is never good for if you've had previous injuries.
Mhm.
You usually can feel the rain a day or two in advance, but when it hits, it can knock you down. And
I'm sure.
The health issues are a contributing factor to the PTSD as well. But what I wanted to share with you real quick.
Let me just say something. Cave Dave, I don't know who you are. You might be somebody with good intentions. You might be trying to drop your nutsack on the screen. So if I don't know who you are, unfortunately, unless telling us, I don't know who you are. So, yeah, see, he jumped off. Here's Don, but I didn't want to cut you off, bro. Hold on.
Fine.
Don, what's up? I'm gonna
Hey, how are you? Hold on 1 second.
That's all right. I'm gonna let War finish what he was saying. Go ahead, War. I'm sorry.
I'll make it real quick, and then I'll
No, don't do that. Don't do that. I've never.
Hey, Don, how are you, sir?
You know how
Not
it is,
bad,
bro. You don't have to come on and jump off. You could stay on all day. As long as I'm on.
Real quick, what I don't know where it came from or what to attribute it to, because there are several traumatic things, that I've been through, or that I've experienced rather, in my life. And I'm not talking about prison or living street life or things like that. Real quick, when my first marriage failed, I had worked so hard to rehabilitate myself, and I was in ministry at the time. I still have 3 beautiful children, but all of it was taken from me when my divorce happened, and I lost everything. I lost my home, my children, everything. I was being considered for 3 separate churches, to be the senior pastor of. On and on I could go, and the thing, and that's why I appreciate your stance on religion, because I refuse to be a religious person. There's a difference in my heart between true faith and religion, and that's for every person to figure out on their own. But for me, when I thought I had nothing left to lose, there's always something left to lose. Remember that. There's always something left to lose. All right. You could lose your life. You could lose. There's always something left to lose. And there's always something left to rebuild with. Okay. Even though you suffer setback or trauma or whatever, there's enough left over. Because of the trauma, you can't see it at the moment, but there's enough left over in your life, in what you've lived as far as your life is concerned for you to rebuild again, to bounce back, as you say. And
Yeah.
you can do it. Anybody can.
You know, Warren and
First
I
of
were
all,
talking.
Dom, before you go on, let me just say, War, I am terribly sorry for all that shit you've gone through. And this is one of the reasons I admire you, bro, because
Uh,
through all you've lost and all you've been through and all you have to suffer with as far as pain, physical and mental, grief, I'm sure, the fact that you stay clean and sober. And I know you don't have a lot of people around you, so that makes it more difficult. It not only breaks my heart, bro, but it makes you admire your strength. It really does.
Thank you. You're a big part of. See, I don't want to let the people that I love down. I've done that enough in my life, and so I try not to ever do that. And that's another huge tool that you have, that people have in their toolbox that they don't realize that they have. Um, is you you can bounce back, yes. But for me, one of my tools is I don't want the people around me to look at me and say, "Oh, it was all just a joke. It was he believed in nothing. What he believed for didn't mean anything." I don't want them to ever experience that. So I'm gonna I'm gonna keep staying the fight, you know, and bounce back again
So,
because I love you. I love the people in chat. Don, so many people and so many different people from all different walks of life in my life. Um, I refuse to quit and I refuse to fail because of them, because of how it would impact the people that I care about most. Does that make any sense?
absolutely, because I think it's a lot easier to stay sober. Some people disagree, but I think if you're doing it not just for yourself, but for other people as well. If
Yes.
see when you're all alone and you have nobody, you only have yourself to disappoint. But even like my first time I got clean and sober, I was in an outpatient rehab. And not only did I have like my girlfriend and my mother and friends, but I had that group in
Yeah.
outpatient rehab. And every now and then after a weekend, somebody would come in and say they relapsed. And I would see the disappointment on his face and everyone else's too. And I never wanted to do that. So uh,
Yes.
during that time, I was determined to not let anyone down, you know?
Right,
So, and
right.
I'm still
Yes.
like that today with Shanna and my kids and everybody. I never
Well,
want to let anyone down.
and it's interesting you say that, Chris, because I'm glad Bill, or rather War. I'm glad you brought that up, because in the show that I did with Jimmy, we talked about that. We talked about the importance, really, of the addiction recovery platform and how much benefit it brings to people. And I also said at the time that for Chris and what have you, it brings great weight and burden upon him because look at if he relapses, okay, look how many people would be affected. Look how many
Yes.
people would be disappointed. Look how many people would be affected by way of the fact that they come here to be inspired and think to themselves, well, geez, maybe if this old ex drug dealer, drug addict, alcoholic could do it, maybe there's a chance for me. Maybe there is hope for me. And
Well,
then he,
I'm sorry, Don. I didn't want to cut you off, but you know me.
yeah,
If I don't say what I have to say at the moment, I forget.
yeah,
But hearing you say that earlier was a real eye opener for me.
yeah,
I
yeah,
never thought about the fact because you got to understand, I don't. I see myself as completely unimportant. So
right,
it
right,
never occurred to me that
right,
the people who watch these addiction recovery streams might actually be relying on me in some way, and that if I were to relapse and fall, that it
yeah,
would disappoint all of them too. It didn't even occur
yeah,
to me, but hearing you
yeah.
say that was a hell of an eye opener.
And it's genuine and real too, because it's one of the dangers of a lot of people who are and believe that they are the message as opposed to the messenger. You know, war is merely passing the message as the messenger. He's not the message. He's the messenger of
Yeah.
his experience, strength, and hope, and what have you. And you know, I don't think War would mind me sharing this private story that I talked about him alone, but you know, there is a difference between. A friend of mine told me this. It was a major kind of a guy. It's an interesting story. I won't bore you with all of the details, but the bottom line is the guy that told me this was Patrick Montalengwe. Now, who is Patrick Montalengwe? Patrick Montalengwe was the youngest bishop in the history of the Anglican Church in the world. He was Desmond Tutu's aide. He was the guy that was Nelson Mandela's priest. He was the guy who fled South Africa in the face of apartheid and washed up onto the shores of Milwaukee drunk and landed up in Nashotah House in northern Wisconsin. That was Patrick Montalengwe. On his final day at Grace Church in Milwaukee, when he had a second calling, when the Archbishop of South Africa had called him back after a long period of sobriety and said, "We want you to come back. You will be the next vicar of South Africa," which is a major thing, you know, in the Anglican Church. He gave his final homily, and his final homily went something like this. He said, and I'll never forget this because I happen to have been there, and he was looking at me at the time because that's a part of the story. But he looked down at me and he said, "The difference between religion and spirituality is religion is for those of you who believe in a hell, and spirituality is for those of us who have been there and have come back and have come back and have come back." And the reason why he said "and have come back" 3 times is because some people just don't learn. You know, they got to go to hell 3 times to learn. But there is that difference. And that's one of the reasons why I like the idea that there is space on this platform for those who do believe, you know, and are of faith and whatever, myself included. And there's space on this platform for atheists and agnostics and what have you. The question is what War was talking about. Can you come back? Are you able to come back and do something, you know, for yourself and for others? Jimmy's story, you know, I always called him, you know, from the first day I met him, I was one of his first, you know, friends on this thing, long time ago. I always used to call him, "You are Calandra, the comeback kid," and boy, is he ever. You know, that's his deal. You know, he's the comeback kid, and in his own way, and what have you. So, you know, I think, you know, for so many people who tune into, you know, this platform and inspired by it and what have you, you know, it really can grow into something, and something very positive.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think it has.
Yeah, definitely. Countless people. I mean, a lot of people that come here are not necessarily, you know, people that suffer from addiction, but they have friends who have, they have family members who have, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, they suffer from other related disorders, PTSD, things like that, and what have you. But you know, to your earlier, you know, comments about, you know, about friends and your friends and so on and so forth, and the importance of friendships. Here's what, and by the way, thank you very much for your kind words. It wasn't necessary, believe me when I tell you.
I think it was.
Well, it wasn't though. But nonetheless, you know, the thought that goes through my mind is this: sobriety for us, at least I can only speak for the 3 of us, you know, is dispositive of all other issues. How can you be the best friend to your friend if you're not sober? How can you be that? You can't. How can you be a good father to your child if you're not sober? How can you be a good mother? How can you be present in that person's life? I said on the show, and I'll say it again, you know, the tragedy that has befallen Mims as she seeks to try and recover and what have you. I asked a friend of mine, you know, who is also a pastor, and a long time ago about this issue about, you know, what do we do about these tragic situations that are just completely out of our control? We don't understand why, you know, we can't make sense out of it. It just, you know, why does this have to happen to the good people and what have you? And he said, Don, let me tell you something. God is in the business. And by the way, he's got a very long, long resume of being there for the dead and the dying. And our job in all of this is to be present in the lives of the people who are left behind and look up into the heavens and ask why and hear back nothing but silence. Our job is to fill that silence, to be by their side, you know, as they go through something like that. That's our job. We can't bring back the dead. We can't, you know, help the dying. That's not our job. Our job is what we did on your program, Chris, and that is to be by the side of the people who were left behind, their friends, their community, their family, and so forth and so on. That's all you can do.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
that's it. You can't change the past, but you can change the future.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I want to say on that note, I don't know if Gemini 44 is here, but I actually spent some time last night trying to get a hold of some Narcan. And unfortunately, I didn't find it easy, but I was able to get it. It's going to be delivered to me.
Very good.
So again, we want to keep pushing that for everybody to get Narcan. If that seems like it's off the subject, it's not, because what Don was referring to is the show we did about Mims.
Yeah.
So,
and to that end, if anybody needs Narcan, okay, let Chris know, let Kimberly know. She's a licensed clinical social worker and addiction medicine specialist. She's licensed in Virginia and in Florida to do this kind of stuff and what have you. She can get all the Narcan you need, you know, right directly from the manufacturers and others and what have you. She has a lot of resources to obtain Narcan. Okay. So if you can't find it locally, just send her a note and see if she can send you some, and she'll send you whatever you need. Okay. For your family and friends or whatever.
oh, Kimberly can do that?
Oh, yeah. She has lots of resources that can do that.
Oh, shit. Well, there you go. Guys, look at that.
Yeah.
Reach out to Kimberly. Let me put this. This is from the other day's show, so it might not make that much sense to you right now. But let me put this up because this has Kimberly's information on it. So there you go. Another thing you can reach out to Kimberly for, Narcan.
Yeah,
that's great to know.
She can definitely hook you up with it and make arrangements to get it to you and what have you. And it doesn't cost anything either. You know, Narcan is free. So,
well, see, I want to be careful about what I say, but what I was finding last night is that it's free in certain situations from certain places. It's not everything I found from Walgreens or CVS was very expensive. So I don't know, but I know, like in York City here, they have a thing at City Hall. I just found this out, unfortunately. The fourth Tuesday of every month, you can go to City Hall and they give out free Narcan. That's one thing. Pennsylvania also has a program. If you Google how to get free Narcan in Pennsylvania, for instance, there's a government website. There's a government website, and you watch a brief training video. It's like 2 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, I think. And then you take a quick quiz, which is, you know, even Lee Cole could fucking pass this. And then that's it. You put your address and all that, your information, and they will deliver. They'll send you Narcan. They'll absolutely send it to you for free.
Yeah,
for free.
Yeah, and other places you can get it is fire departments. They have it. Certain fire departments have it. What have you? There's you do. I agree with you, Chris. You do have to look around and what have you, but it is available.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
absolutely.
it is available. And if you go in and try to buy it straight up, yeah, right, it's expensive. But the Narcan manufacturers were mandated by the FDA and others to give away an enormous quantity of it because of the fentanyl crisis and what have you. So and the government is sponsoring a lot of those programs. So I know that they, just like they have occasional turn-ins where you turn in pharmaceuticals and narcotics that are in your house to fire departments and whatever in local communities, they do also have Narcan distribution days as well. You just have to look for it. But if you can't find it, email Kimberly,
Mhm.
she'll get it for you.
That's awesome. That's great. Actually, I'm going to email Kimberly.
Lady of the million copies.
Because I don't know. I don't know when I'm going to get this stuff, and I'd like to get it as soon as possible.
Well, it's
I
like right
didn't
now.
try though. I didn't actually go to CVS or anything. I should do that. There's a Rite Aid maybe a couple of miles from here. I think a CVS too. So I might try that as well. But from what I researched, online, it seems to have a cost. But there's other ways. There's other ways. JFid said it. Google how to get free Narcan in your area. There is somewhere you can get it. There's probably multiple places. So
Yeah. I mean, you have to be resourceful. But I can tell you, like for example, hypothetically, right now until May 11th, anybody can get COVID tests for free. Okay, up until May 11th, the money runs out on May 11th. You could go to any pharmacy and get a COVID test for free. Same thing
yeah.
with Narcan. These are government programs that have been funded for this particular purpose in response to the fentanyl crisis, and particularly under this administration. Oh, please, people, they're gonna be very responsive, to that.
Look at this.
So,
Gemini said I found Narcan vending machines that give it for free. Wow.
yeah, I've heard about it, Gemini. I've heard about that as well in New York. In two of the boroughs in New York, they actually have them set up nearby the what do they call it? We call it the metro. You guys call it the subway. So I've heard that that they're doing that and what have you.
Real quick, I just wanted to say, just an FYI. Don probably realizes this, but a person, if you know somebody that has PTSD and they get quiet, don't let them get quiet.
Mhm.
Okay? Because they're introverting. I have a bad habit of doing that. The situation with Mims brought back a whole bunch of stuff. You were talking about having nightmares and stuff like that last night. I'm sorry for that, but
No, it's all
this
right.
situation has just brought, and that's what PTSD does. You have to mind your triggers, realize what they are, and manage them. But in a situation like this, it brought back emotions, not just from when I lost my Kimberly, but and I've shared with you that I was engaged to remarry and lost my fiance. She lived in New York at the time. I woke up one morning and she had passed
Yeah.
out of the clear blue, and
Jesus.
this and that just happened within the past year. The situation with Mims has brought back a lot of emotion, a lot of heartache, a lot of hurt. You can't kill yourself trying to figure out why. There are some things we're never going to understand the reason why to in this life.
That's for sure.
And if you sit there and beat your head or beat yourself up, beat your head against the wall, trying to figure out why this happened, I'd like to know why. I could give you 1,000 pat answers. I could give you some theological ones too. Okay, but they're irrelevant. You can express to me why I've had to, or explain to me in earthly terms why I've had to go through some of the hard stuff I've had to go through. It just doesn't make any sense, And so one day,
Well,
maybe I'll understand, maybe I won't. But that's beyond my realm it's beyond my ability to deal with. And so if it's beyond my ability to deal with it, it's not for me to deal with. Does that make any sense?
I think
yeah.
It's a very poignant share, and thank you.
Yeah.
And it leaves me very sad because I wish I could be there to comfort you. But what I
Me
can
too.
say is that and this isn't to be trite, but these are the great mysteries that we don't have answers to, and they best not have answers. We can't figure them out. The
Yes,
moment we try to figure them out, any intervening explanation to the contrary could be also the case. We just don't know some of the answers to these mysteries. No different than, frankly, why is Chris alive? Why am I alive? Why are you alive? And yet, so many of Chris's friends are dead, as well as mine, as well as yours. Why is it that we made it and they didn't? Why? We don't
Like
know the answers to that.
it gives me survivor's guilt. Honestly,
Can't,
yeah, it
can't,
does.
can't. But I know for me, I only say that I mark it up as it's a miracle. Okay. I believe that. I believe Chris is a miracle.
yes, he is.
I truly believe that. Why do I say that? Because I know, at least for myself, for Chris, for you, for others in the audience or whatever, we all should have died 100 times 100 ago. Okay,
Yes,
for
sir.
all the things that we did to
Yes,
ourselves, to others, to our
yes,
neighborhood, and to our friends. We all should have been dead long ago, and yet, we are not. Okay, there's got to be a reason for that. I can't explain what that reason is, but the fact is that we are alive, and
yes, sir.
all you need to do is sit back and, as I said on Jimmy's show, if you want an answer, do a body count. If you don't believe it, do the body count. Look how many people are dead in your life because it didn't work out for them.
Yes, sir. And I appreciate what you said, what the bishop told you or the pastor told you about being present. Because sometimes people like to be clever and try to come up with something to say in a situation where somebody's hurting, and there are no words to say. Just be there.
Right.
Okay, that's what matters. Okay,
Yeah.
you don't always have to have something clever to say or a great spiritual insight to share. No, just be there.
Yeah.
That person that's suffering,
Yeah.
them knowing that you're just there, simply there to listen, to hey, give you a hug maybe when you need one or whatever. Just knowing that they're there, present, makes all the difference in the world.
It does. It does. One of the things that you said that is really, really important, and I had forgotten about, but it's true. One of the hallmark kind of like symptoms or characteristics of PTSD is the sudden silence, is the withdrawal, is the sense of quietness.
Yes,
that that covers the individual. That's the danger sign. The reason why I can say that is because while I've never suffered from PTSD, so that's not my real estate, but I know lots of people in the military and in the intelligence community, for which I hail, that have come back from war, including myself, and have suffered from PTSD. And it's kind of like they're all with you, and they're like in the party, in the game, in life, and then the next thing that happens is this sense of foreboding quietness comes over them, and they're just absent, and I used to say, well, I at first I always thought, well, geez, he just doesn't like me anymore. I always thought it was all about me, but the reality is that they were quietly suffering.
yes,
And yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was interrupting. I apologize.
No.
The pain is so great. The hurt is so magnanimous. You just shut down. you're robbed of your words, literally, almost because of because what the pain causes, it causes you to reflect, and when you start reflecting, like Chris said, like FBS said earlier, it's a circus in here.
Oh.
You know,
Yeah. Well, we all know that's true for him.
Oh, for me,
circus in there.
me, it
No,
was,
no.
for me, it's a circus. It really is.
No.
Dancing
It's worse.
monkeys and all kinds of shit.
No, it's worse, Chris. Be honest. It's like Ringling Brothers.
Yeah. It's all
Okay.
fucked up. What's
Yeah,
going on
right.
up here is a
Yeah,
fucking
right.
horror show. It's
You know
horrible.
the story of the elephants, Dumbo, and the rest of them.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
Being alone with the hurt, and you start reflecting on it, and the thoughts become all consuming, and you just shut down. You know, that's what I do, and that's what has. I know I haven't been as vocal as I probably could have been over the past couple of weeks, but that's what happens.
Yeah.
You know, that's the PTSD
Well,
thing.
I've never been through nearly what you have. Your story is truly well, it's inspirational, the fact that you're still here and clean and sober, but it really is horrifying what you went through. It's a very sad situation, and I feel for you. But I went through something in and I can't get into details, but in 2006, specifically on Memorial Day of 2006, that changed my life forever, bro. And it wasn't. It didn't happen directly to me. It happened to someone I love very, very much, and it literally took me until rehab. When I went to rehab in 2019, from 2006, it took me till then to even begin to start to get over it. It was such a horrible thing. And if I could describe it to you, you'd understand. It would most likely have you in tears. It was such a horrible thing, and you left with these questions of, what could I have done to help? Could I have done something to prevent it? Why wasn't I there at that very moment? And I'm telling you, it ate me alive. It ate me alive inside. It was, and it took so fucking long until finally I went to rehab and started to think with a clear head and realized that not only was there nothing I could do, but it's in the past now. And at some point, you got to make a decision to either live or to die. Okay.
Yes,
and if
sir.
you're going to live, then you have to find a way to cope with it or just somehow put it behind you. That's the only way. And I know
Well-
that's easier for some than others, but for
No.
me, it was my only choice.
Well, and it's not a matter of choice. It's a matter that's your only means to survive. You know, that type of trauma, and that is a form of PTSD, because in its essence, one of the things that people who have PTSD talk about is the fact that a catastrophic incident occurs, or a series of them occurs in their life, that represent, like, they are being haunted daily by the skeletons of their past,
Yes, sir.
you know, every single day. And then an event will occur, much like what happened, you know, to Mims and whatever. And that just re-rings these bells that that are in people's lives and what have you. And one of the things that I've learned from people who are coming back from war and conflict and what have you is that, you know, these are shattered souls in many respects that we try to make whole and what have you. An event will occur that is a seemingly normal event. It could be nothing more than an awkward sound. You know,
Yes, sir.
while sitting in an outdoor cafe, a car could backfire, and they are
Right.
brought right back to the conflict in Kandahar on the roadway of death. Okay, I mean, I know exactly what that was like, and they're actually seeing it in front of their very eyes. They are hallucinations made true. They actually see them. It's like plugging in the videotape of that event in the present. It's tragic. It's tragic. But that said, I will also say this, and that is, there is hope for people who suffer from that kind of trauma.
Yes, sir.
One of them is, you know, frankly, which is why this platform is so beneficial, is that it's a place where people can come together and talk about these things amongst one another, chat with other people, network with other people, make new friends, that have a commonality amongst one another. That's what this is all about, And
Yep.
it's like what Bishop Montelengue told me, and that is that, all we can do at the end of the day is be present in other people's lives that are left behind.
Yes, sir.
So,
And thank you for saying, don't minimize your story, Mr. Yes. Don't minimize what you've been through.
No, I understand. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I that's why I don't like getting into comparison. But you've been through hell too, and you fought back. You've been through hell that I don't know of, necessarily.
Yeah, we've all had different experiences.
Sure, but there's an old proverb that says iron sharpens iron.
No.
That's why.
But Chris, again, I don't mean to be trite, but if you do not believe or do not appreciate the dimension and the depth of what you went through, do the body count. Ask yourself, how many friends did you lose? How many of them are dead?
I can't even. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So
A lot.
with each one of those dropping bodies represents a traumatic event that you had to have appreciated in some way or another. It affects you in some way or another.
Sure.
It affected me every time I was deployed, and every time. I saw some horrible situations, no question about it. I lived through a lot of them and what have you. But that having been said, I was sober enough and in recovery long enough that I could use those tools to make my way through that, and be able to manage it and what have you. Just like what War was saying.
Yes, sir.
Managing the triggers and whatever.
It's not a bad thing, and I shared this with you, Dan. Sometimes reflection's not always a bad thing. Okay, it can be if you stay there. You can't get stuck there. Regardless of what those traumatic events are, at least one time, go through it, unpack it all, and ask those questions why, or try to figure out what you can, then put it back in the box and put it away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then move on.
You gotta find a way. You gotta find a way.
Yeah, right. It might not be until 3 months later or 3 years later that you see an answer or get an answer or see something you didn't see before or realize something about that situation that you didn't pay attention to when everything was going on. So, don't get stuck in what happened. It's okay to process things.
Yeah.
Process does have an end, though. That's why it's called process.
Well, a lot of people, that's the crazy thing, too, especially with addiction and recovery. Like with me, for example, when that took place, not to mention some other things that took place, I did the same thing. But when that specifically took place, I went so much deeper because I was already using a lot. But I went, what the fuck happened to War?
I think
he left.
No, hold on 1 second. Stand by. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. If I screw up this, I did this before. I hit a wrong button here. He's back.
The link is in the chat.
Yeah. Okay.
In case you do.
Good. All right. Hold on 1 second. All right. I'm back. Never mind. Sorry.
All right. No, it's all right. But what I was saying, hopefully War comes back. The link is in the chat for him. I went so much deeper into my addiction for so long, even though there was years throughout that time between 2006 and 2019 where I was clean for some time. Even though there was, I never, it really took until I went to rehab and I was separated from everything. My past was in another city. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My family and friends. I only was speaking to my family at the time. I wasn't. My thought process wasn't disrupted by something different happening every 5 minutes. I wasn't
Right.
trapped in my addiction anymore. I was free from it to some extent. I was away
Yeah.
from those people, places, and things, and I could really
Right.
think.
Right.
And that's the problem with grief and stuff like that. Is sometimes, and addiction is one way of doing this. Sometimes we put it off,
Yeah.
and it
Yes.
takes until you finally go through that grief process and the
Yeah.
healing process to
Right.
finally get better. Because
Yeah.
some people
Yeah,
don't
you
even
know.
realize they're putting it off. There's 1,000 different ways to put it off, and people don't even realize they're doing it.
Yeah, and you talked about this a long time ago. I don't remember if it was privately or otherwise, but correct me if I'm wrong, and interrupt if I am saying something inappropriate. But one of the things that you shared, and I don't remember when, but a long time ago, was that that part of the rationale, or part of the thing that kept you in treatment at Clarity House was the peace that surrounded you, that you were
Yes.
finally away from the chaos and the craziness, okay,
Yep.
that allowed you a moment of peace so that you had a chance to have
Yeah.
recovery,
Uh,
Well, when I heard that, I said to myself, boy, is that exactly what was imposed upon me? Because back when I went into treatment in 1989, there were no visitors. Okay, there were no phone calls, no computers. You had no connection to the outside at all for a period of time. Okay, certainly while you were detoxing, there were no visitors, no contacts of any sort whatsoever. Okay,
Yeah.
when you're in the hospital itself, detoxing, and then even after you got out of the hospital part of the facility, and you were in a step down unit. At McBride, at the McBride Center, it was very segregated. When you were in detox and you were hooked up to IVs and they were giving you medicines and what have you, you were not in a rehab unit. You were in a hospital. That's the way it was set up, and you were under doctor's care. And that for me lasted 21 days. I was in that unit a long, long time because I had become severely addicted to drugs and alcohol. And then when I got out, of that and moved to the next unit and what have you, it was kind of like what you said, Chris. It was like, maybe I can leave the craziness outside the door, and I can enjoy a moment of peace,
Yeah.
just to give myself a chance,
Yeah.
It was kind of like what it was like.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. For me, at Clarity Way, now I've never been to any other rehabs, but I've seen where some are located, things like that. Places like where I was at, and I think many rehabs are like this, but especially very, very highly expensive rehabs like the one I was in.
Yeah.
They are located in isolated places in the middle
Yeah,
of
boy.
fucking nowhere,
Yeah, boy.
surrounded by beauty.
Yeah.
That Clarity Way, not only did we have the gym and the massages and the meditation and the yoga and the Tai Chi and all those different things, but it
Right.
was pure beauty. It was surrounded by pure beauty. The woods, the country, the green grass. Then you
Oh, I
got the
know.
pool. You could go and swim in the pool. And you're experiencing, for a guy like me, from where I was from,
Yeah.
I'm from a goddamn war zone. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? The
right,
straight
right.
ghetto. Yeah.
Right.
So for
right.
me to be in that atmosphere and be surrounded by somewhat normal people with all
Right.
this beauty around me, it opens your eyes and it does clear your head and give you a chance to actually think. Because you're
Right.
not like in my life, my phone isn't going off every 2 seconds, somebody looking for coke. I'm not hearing about who just died, who just got locked up, who just became a rat. None of that shit's happening. It's
Right.
I'm away from it. And it was an experience that I swear, if there's one thing I could wish for people who are struggling with addiction, or people who even have, is that you either get a chance or would have gotten a chance to be at a place like that.
Yeah.
Because
And
when you have an experience like that, the sense of gratitude you feel
well,
is unbelievable. And it makes you never want to let anybody down. Never want
Boy,
to let anybody down.
Boy,
Yeah.
is that true? You know, I went. The McBride Center was in a place called Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. Cold, Chris, cold. I mean,
Yeah.
I know you don't like cold. This is where
Yeah.
they freeze dry you sober. Okay, it is so desolate and cold, you can't relapse because you'd be dead by the time you walk to the bar. Okay.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah.
And you'd never have a chance to come back. And you had no car, no keys, so you know the only way out of there was to walk away. And if you did, you would freeze to death. At least when
It's like where they put prisons.
yeah,
They
yeah,
put in
yeah.
places that if you ever want to fucking escape, you better be a good runner and you better have you better have a lot of energy. It's going to take
And
you
not only-
days to get to civilization. Yeah.
And more importantly, a lot of heavy clothing too, because you'd be frozen to death by the time you got to the nearest bar. But nonetheless, so this place was just like that. It was just, God, was it beautiful. I mean, it was in the middle of the woods of Wisconsin, and it had all of these little recovery houses that everybody, you know, kind of like were in, you know. At Clarity, and where you were, it was one like big facility, you know. But
Yeah.
McBride Center was a series of houses, okay, all in a campus that was surrounded in the woods. Okay,
Yeah.
it was just unbelievable, and you could spend hours walking on the paths or hiking in the forest, or you could swim in the pool if you wanted to, and all sorts of different things and what have you. But my only point is that it gave me an opportunity for, you know, a moment of peace and you know, and clarity, you know, so I could begin to think about, you know, what I had done to not only myself but, you know, to others, and to do kind of like, you know, how can I make amends? You know, the temptation in early recovery is to run right out and make amends. That's the time not to do it. I'm telling you. Okay,
Yeah.
don't do it that way. All right. Not a good idea, I can assure. The best amends letter I ever wrote was the one that is still in my drawer, not sent. Okay. Yeah.
Well, at least you didn't send it.
Well, you gotta heal yourself. You know, I won't say completely, but to the best of your ability before you start trying to heal old broken relationships and things
truly.
like that. You really do.
Absolutely. You got to have at least some time on the books, if you will, like a horrible way of looking at it, but have some time on the books so that you have credibility for when you do try to make the amends. You know, nobody is going to believe some, you know, former junkie, drug addict, alcoholic, whatever you want to call him, who's knocking on your door to make amends after 3 days, you know, out of rehab. I mean, it ain't going to work. People want to see the time, you know, they want to see the time. I mean, and I don't blame them. Look, I mean, you know, I don't blame them.
I have relationships till this day that you know still aren't repaired, and I'm almost 4 years clean and sober. I've said before, you just got to accept that people who are mad at you, people you may have hurt, they have every right to be mad at you. They do, and they're not on your fucking timetable. If they never forgive you, it's not their obligation to. You're the one that fucked up. All you could do is hope that eventually their heart changes a little bit, and they do. They either allow you back in, or they forgive you somewhat, or even completely. But if they don't, you got to take responsibility for why that is. At first, I got mad at people for not seeing the changes I made and just completely acting. You know, I guess I wanted them to act like nothing ever happened, and look, I'm all better. And you know, I got mad at people for not acknowledging the way that I turned my life around. But you can't do that. Everybody has their right to be mad at you, and if they want to forgive you, they will do it on their own timetable.
And you know something, Chris, sometimes people forget, you know, in recovery, sometimes amends are not appropriate. Okay. You know, going to a guy's house and saying, Jesus, I'm here to make my amends because I fucked your wife and I'm sorry. That is not going to work. That doesn't work.
I tried it once. It didn't go well. I almost got shot.
Yeah. Right. I mean, so, you know, you can make you can make an amends like that, and it'll be your last amends. Because why?
Yeah,
You'll
yeah,
be
yeah,
dead
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
when he shoots you. You know.
Fuck
So-
around and apologize to the wrong person. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I used to, this friend of mine that I used to sponsor a long time ago used to say,
Don,
"Well, I want to be."
Don, can you hold that thought for 1 second?
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
my
yeah.
OCD. I got to do something. Tom
Yeah.
Sheehy, bro. If I didn't, and I don't remember, if I didn't include you in that list of friends yesterday, again, I apologize. Tom Sheehy has been one of the best, most supportive people I've had on here in my life, Shanna's life, Gunsmoke's life. I love you, bro. I feel for what you've been through. I'm always here for you if you need me. And War, if I didn't include you in that list, you're another one. I love to death. I consider a brother. I speak to him on the phone through text, and he's been with me all this time, and I'll never forget that. Michael Hensley, also, I meant to mention you earlier. I don't think he misses a show. He's always in here to say, I love you, MobTube. That means the world to me. Plus, he's a veteran. Thank you for your service, Michael. Anyway, I had to get that out. Go ahead, Don. I'm sorry.
I want to say also a special word thanks to Mike because, Semper Fi, Mike, and for all that you did. And, there was a couple of shows ago where people were talking about when people say to us, thank you for your service. I know this sounds controversial. Okay. I'm going to say it anyway because I'm an honest guy and tell people the way it is. And that is, don't thank me for my service, please. I don't consider it a service. I don't. If you want to thank anybody, thank my family.
Yes,
thank my wife. Thank my friends, the people who allowed me to do the work in which I do. Those are the ones who really deserve the thanks. I can't
thank you, Kimberly, for not leaving Don's sorry ass while he was away fighting for our country.
There's a lot of truth behind that. There was a time, in our marriage, I was gone 300 days a year, and then there was another time, and she stood by my side. She was always with me. She's a very special person because, she didn't talk about this much, but she was on the White House staff, okay, under President Bush. And then she went back to DOD. And then she went back to doing work in the addiction community and what have you through the Department of Defense and so forth. So she knows this real estate. She understands the deal. Believe me when I tell you. And likewise, when she was at the White House and gone day and night, when she was at the White House, we didn't even live together because she was downtown. I lived out, in the Blue Ridge area and what have you, Bull Run Mountain area, because there's no way she could come back and forth. Okay. So I know the sacrifice. All right. But truly, when I tell you, don't thank me for the service. I'm not the one to thank. The person to thank is our friends. If I cannot tell you how many times when I was in these shit fucking hole places that Jimmy would send me a note. How you doing, Don? Are you safe? When Chris would do the same. I don't know where he is, but I know I just want to, when you would reach out and say, I don't know where you're at, but I hope you're safe. Those are the people to thank. Okay. Because if it weren't for those people, we couldn't do this job. Trust me when I tell you, that's a fact. So,
absolutely, yes, definitely. That's a very noble thing to say, and to give your wife the credit and your family. That's very noble of you.
That's true.
Do you want to get back to what you're saying? I'm so sorry I cut you off.
I forgot what I was saying. I'm like you.
Son of a bitch. I apologize for doing that, bro.
What was I saying?
You want to take a minute and rewind the show? You watch it? You got your show on the phone? That's what I do.
Oh, really? I don't know. No, I'm not going to do that.
Hold on, I'll do it. I'll do it for you. Wait.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah. So, what's cooking? How have you been? Other than that minor little business with the tragedies or whatever, how was your night at the theater with Mrs. Lincoln and that hole in her head?
If only I'd went,
Yeah. Right.
I'm grateful you guys got the opportunity to get away and to get away to a place where you can recover,
Yeah.
because it's a heck of a thing and this is the nature of life, to make you so busy that you feel like you can't even breathe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's not. It was nice for a season of time for the both of you, or whoever's been to rehab, for the world just to stop, so that you could get better, so that you could
Well,
get the help and counseling you needed.
and let me tell you, Chris and I, and for others who've been through formal rehab, we are in the far, far, far minority of people who come into sobriety and recovery. The far minority are the ones who come in through the treatment doors. That's very, very few compared to people who go to AA, go to NA, go to GA, go to SA, go to counseling, go to people like my wife. Okay, they go through the church, pastoral counseling. Okay,
Yeah.
there's many, many, many different doors into recovery. But very few actually go, as a result of treatment itself, the treatment facilities itself. The
Takes
far
guts.
majority, yeah. It really is a gift, if you will. I mean, the cost today is just like, oh my God.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. The cost is astronomical. It makes rehab unattainable for a lot of people that are really suffering. Which
Yeah.
is
Yeah, well, that's the sad part. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because
Well,
I didn't have that luxury.
And that's the other part of it. As much as I, believe in treatment, what have you, I will also tell you it's not a lilies of the valley situation. Okay, it is a
Understood.
profit-making enterprise. These people that
yes.
are in it make a lot of money,
Yes. Yes.
And particularly since the change in insurance policies that basically say that you cannot turn away a person suffering from drug addiction or alcohol because it's not a medical condition. It is a medical condition, so they're obligated to do something. But Kimberly at one time in her life, excuse me, was the director of a methadone clinic. Okay, it was a horrible experience. She did not last.
I can
long
only
there.
imagine.
Yeah, because she used to basically tell them, "Hey, where are we on titrating people down
Right.
from one form of heroin to another form of heroin?" Okay,
Exactly.
it kind of like is the story with Johnny Mack. I don't want to get too far down that road, but I asked Kimberly about that, because as I say, she was a director of a methadone clinic.
Sure.
And 8 years on methadone is not medically advisable or even permitted. No.
And if you're on it 8 years, I'd like to ask Kimberly, when the fuck do you come off it? Like, when's the end point? What are you going to be on it for fucking life? I don't understand. What kind of fucking responsible medical professional would allow that? I gotta know. I've never seen anything like it. I've had friends 2-3 years, they're on it, whatever, and they're weaned off of it. But 8 fucking years?
No, the next time she's on the show, you should ask her that, okay? Because she'll tell you the titration process. She touched on it when she was on your program last week or whatever, when she was talking about the titration process of weaning people off of certain drugs as they're also getting psychological care, with the goal being to have them off completely. Okay, well, in methadone, it's the same thing. Her view of it was, 18 months, that's it, you're off. Okay, but 8 years is medically not appropriate. It just isn't.
You can't trade one addiction for another.
That's all it is.
No, I mean,
Don. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was just going to tell you Tom had a question for you, but go ahead.
No, what I was going to say was that with regard to anybody who is on methadone, if you see a circumstance where the clinic is not seeking to wean you down, ask yourself, how profitable it is for you to be on
There you go.
methadone. You know,
Yeah, well,
um,
that's what
yeah.
it's all about. I mean,
I hate to say it, Chris, but that is a sad reality.
that's the only
They,
reason he's on it this long.
it's the only reason. I mean, they don't make money on no doses. Okay, they don't.
No,
Well,
You
that's
know, they
true.
make money when they are giving it out and what have you, and managing it and so forth. So you always have to keep that kind of thing in mind as a reality. And to the Johnny Macs of the world who are suffering from long-term methadone usage and what have you, you know, yeah, you have a responsibility to inquire as to when you can begin titrating down. Okay. You have that responsibility. But also, you know, looking in the light most favorable to Johnny for just a moment, they have a responsibility to him too. His clinic should have told him long ago, John, your days are done. We're going to wean you down. Okay. And we're going to put you in the drug database that we're doing it, so you can't go to another facility. Okay, they have that responsibility to him as a patient. I mean, let's be
Yes, sir.
real here. Okay,
Yes, that's
yeah,
true.
absolutely. Hey, Don, Tom Sheehy said, Don Berlin, a doctor said to me, 2 major traumas inside a year is very hard to recover. Is this true? Uh, is this true, Don? Often think I will recover. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he meant don't often think I will recover. I'm not sure if that's what he meant. But yeah, yeah. What do you think about that?
you know, it's a question better asked of my wife because she's a professional and I'm not in that area. But what I can say is this, okay? Multiple traumas that occur in a compressed period of time accentuate one another. They re-ring the bells, you know,
Yes, sir.
such that it is very difficult for a patient to absorb that type of traumatic event when they're multiple occurring in a compressed period of time. No question. But to answer the other part of the question, is there any hope? Of course there's hope. Of course there's hope.
Yes, sir.
Many people have suffered horrific, traumatic events over a very short period of time. I mean, not to talk about history and what have you, but I know people in both Afghanistan and Ukraine and what have you, families and what have you. I'll go off on a story in a moment, but allow me to think through or talk about this one first. I know of families in the Ukraine and what have you, who they're not in Bakhmut, but they're west of Bakhmut. And their brothers and sisters were singularly murdered over a very short period of time. Lost a brother, then another brother, then a sister, then a father, and so on and so forth, over a period of around roughly 9 weeks and whatever. Horrific trauma, okay? But I will tell you that they are able to come out of that type of trauma. I've seen that as well as in Afghanistan. Tuesday, General Sadat, Kash Sadat, look him up. He was the last commander of the Afghan forces, invited me to go to Georgetown and speak. I'm not going to do that. I'll attend. I don't speak because I can't, because I'm in government, so I can't do that. But he's going to talk about the children of Afghanistan who have lost their parents and their families and their orphans. And they've incurred these terrible types of trauma and what's come of them and what have you. There's a story that Kimberly can talk about. It's a very famous story now. I mean, I don't mind telling it. But look if you have a chance, Tom. Look up the story of Robert Baer, B-A-E-R. He was my former partner. He was the worldwide Hezbollah chief of operations for the CIA back in the 80s. Yeah, he's a good guy, a very close friend of mine to this day. His wife, his name is Dana. So Dana and Bob were in Pakistan, in Islamabad. Actually, it was Dana was in Islamabad, and she was working a mission and what have you, and doing something and what have you. And one of the things that was occurring was that these babies and children were just being dumped on bridges, you know,
Okay.
orphans, just dumped
Jesus
like
Christ.
luggage. Okay, so Dana hears about this baby that is was left on a bridge and what have you, is brought to an orphanage, and she goes and see this child and whatever, falls in love with this child, and is trying madly to get this kid. Has no passport, no national identity card number, no birth certificate, no documentation at all. Doesn't even have a name. Okay, to try to get this child out of Pakistan because of his parents were killed in Lahore. When I was in Islamabad, or I was in Lahore, Dan was in Islamabad. So Bob calls my wife and says, you know, is there anything you can do? Because she was in the White House then. And she was her book of business at the White House was things like No Child Left Behind, the Faith-Based Initiative, Child Support Enforcement, Refugee Children, and what have you. All of which was under the ambiance of the First Lady's office. Anyway, to make the long story short, she was finally able to get this child out. Years later, Bob and Dana wrote the book about the child. The child's name is Khyber, named after where she was left, the Khyber Pass in Pakistan.
Wow.
And she obviously did not know all of the traumatic events that affected her family. Okay.
Sure.
But other children like her who were older did in a very compressed period of time, you know, as a result of war and what have you.
Yes.
And through a lot of therapy and what have you, they were able to find their way through this traumatic event and what have you. So, Tom, my only point is that there is great hope for people who have suffered that kind of trauma and what have you. And the war, you can take it because my voice is ending. Hold on.
I got you. Tom, you need somebody to hit me up anytime. Get my email from FBS or Miss Can't Be Wrong. But connection is vital. That's why I come. That's why I'm here with you guys today. You know, whenever Chris is on, because we are connected, and our connection is important. It's vital. Like I said earlier, iron sharpens iron. We glean strength from one another. We get encouragement in life from one another by sharing our experiences with one another. And so I'm here for you, brother. Hit me up.
Yeah, and you know, someone else said, I saw a note here. Hold on, I want to just respond to this because Mark, listen, Mark, don't feel as though being off of methadone now for 7 years and haven't been on for a long period of time, people are going to judge you. What I celebrate is the fact that you're off of it for 7 years. You know,
proud of you.
Yeah, God bless you. You know,
yes.
So don't let anybody shame you or make you feel poorly because you were once on methadone for a period of time.
No,
you know,
you're clean now. You know,
that's the key.
Exactly.
You know,
you're clean. And that's what counts.
Yeah, and that's all that counts, you know.
Yes, sir.
I always said, you know, we all have many, many todays. None of us have any tomorrows for guarantee. Sir. Okay. Yes, but we may make it through today if we're A, lucky, and B, if we're sober and clean. But remember, we all have many, many yesterdays. I don't look back upon my many yesterdays, the clean ones and the unclean ones. Okay. And I'm like with Chris. I don't judge people based upon their yesterdays because I've had many yesterdays. Where I look at is where you're at today and what you're going to do tomorrow. You know, that's my bottom line.
Sure.
Sorry, I was muted, but don't forget, Don, we're in the land of perfect people here. So
Yeah,
all
yeah,
the perfect
exactly.
people get to look down on everyone else, you know.
I
Cool.
see.
Exactly.
I see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone that doesn't like us is perfect. I just, you know.
Right. Right.
Hey, I
Well,
thought you have
that's
to have morals to question whether somebody has them or not. That's
right.
just me. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
crazy though, you know.
What I have to say to the perfect people is when you're perfectly dead, okay, then come back and talk to me, okay.
Yeah.
But and until then, shut the fuck up.
Oh, yeah, until then, shut the fuck up. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. So, but anyway, so I think that you know, for not to harp on the methadone thing and what have you,
Yeah,
I
fuck
understand, you know, that it's a necessary drug for a worse
Sure.
drug. You know, I get that. But I also know that there's two sides of that railroad. Okay,
Yes.
there's the coming and the going. You know, it's your obligation to begin to titrate down, and it's their obligation to ensure that you have the support system to do that and not be taken advantage of by the
Yes,
clinic.
sir. Yes.
You know,
This is what it comes down to. I hate to say this, but you know me, I'm honest. Addiction recovery show or not, there's
Yeah.
certain people, like I've said, Don, they choose to, and they almost have to in their mind be on something at all times. There's people that are on methadone that if they can, they will stay on till the day they fucking die. That's all there is to it. And we have a fucking a medical industry in this country that will do anything for profit. Okay, even if it means keeping a guy on methadone for 40 fucking years, if there's money in it, they'll do it, and there is money in it. So, you know, at some point, the person themselves has to say, because they know the doctor will keep them on it forever if they want. At some point, if they want to be strong and they want to get clean, they have to go to the doctor and say, okay, doc, I'm ready to wean myself off of this or titrate down, whatever you
Yeah.
said. You know,
Yeah.
and it's time. I want to get my life back. You know, I don't want to
Yeah.
rely on this. Like me, for
Yeah.
example, bro, let me tell you something. I can't stand the fact that I need these fucking things. It's the only
Yeah.
addiction I have left in my life. You know what I mean? And that makes me want to quit. Why doesn't it make other people want to quit when they need this methadone or this Suboxone or whatever it may be? When do you get to the point where it's like, okay, you're not at risk of suffering withdrawal from heroin anymore? Like,
Yeah.
what's going to happen? Is there ever an end in sight to this shit, or do you just choose to be on it forever?
Yeah. Well, there's, you know, the difference with smoking as an addiction with nicotine. Of course, nicotine is one of the most powerful drugs that there is. But
Yeah.
what makes stopping smoking so hard, worse than drinking, I can tell you, or drugs, in my opinion, okay, is the fact that it's so situational and so much ritualism goes into it. Okay.
Of course.
That's the problem, you know, is that, you know, you're driving, the traffic is fucked, and you start smoking. You're on the computer and you're aggravated, you start smoking. And on and on and on. It's very ritualistic and very situational.
It's a lifestyle. That's what it is. It's a whole fucking lifestyle.
Right.
Let me
Yeah.
Steve-O, let me say, you know what, Steve-O, I'm glad you said that, because I've been thinking about this, especially the last few days since this MIMS thing. And I'm going to start doing something here. It's going to cost me money, but fuck it. I'm going to do more and more of these addiction and recovery shows, because the more negativity that all these other assholes push, the more positivity I'm going to push. Don't get me wrong. I still got to talk my shit to make a living. Just got to do it. Okay. But I'm going to do more and more of this stuff. Okay. When I saw how much my show the other day helped people with everything that's going on with MIMS, made them feel a little better, whatever it may have been. It made me realize that, and everything you said too today, Don, on Jimmy's show about these shows. Every time I get good feedback like this from Steve-O, it makes me realize once again, we're the only people on here doing anything positive for anybody. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is actually helping people. So if I have the chance to use my platform to help people, why not do more of it? You know, why not do
Well,
more of it? And that's what
not
I'm
not
going to
only,
do.
yeah, and not only that, but you know, I hate to be like, how can I say this politely without like making the chat go on
Just say
fire?
Just be we're honest over here, Don. Just be
Okay,
honest.
okay, okay. I have always believed. I know that people are gonna, are gonna say this motherfucker, but I've always believed that recovery and sobriety is a money making proposition. Okay, for me, it always has been. All right.
Without a
When I
doubt.
came into recovery, let me tell you what my total worth was on the earth as a humanoid. I had 3 bags of laundry. I had a computer. I had $358, and I had my health insurance card. That was all my worth was in the world at that time on Christmas Day in 1989. That's what my disease brought me to. Okay. Today, I have a beautiful farm, a gorgeous, gorgeous wife who's brilliant, 4 happy dogs. I've saved an enormous amount of money. I'm still serving, working, and what have you. I've acquired incredible things. I've been all over the world, on tours, meaning deployments and what have you, picking up shit along the way, and so on and so forth. All because I was sober, and because I was in recovery, and because I lived that life. Okay. I could never do that. I could never have those things. I could not have the joys of, like Chris is talking about, vacations and going away with my wife, walking on the beaches and the Outer Banks, and all these things that Kimberly and I have done over many, 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 many years. But for the fact that I was sober and clean. And being sober and clean does not mean you have to be poor. Okay. There's nothing wrong with getting rich as a result of being,
Oh no, 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 no.
no.
It's
Okay.
only possible clean and sober. I think. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
getting rich, you better get clean real fucking fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
there is a way to have a situation so that you don't have to ask for contributions, to these platforms and what have you, but for which, Mustache, Mustache Pete and I were talking about this the other day. There's a lot of people, a lot of organizations that would come in and sponsor these kinds of platforms. And it's called micro targeting advertising, and it simply is that Chris is the radio man or the TV man or the showman or whatever. He reads a 30-second script, or it could be a crawl or whatever it might be. It could be a treatment center. It could be a healthcare professional. It could be a DWI
Attorney.
law firm that does it, that sponsors the programs and what have you. Targeting works because it's small money compared to what they have to pay for big platforms. It's a couple $100, and they'll sponsor a show. It's amazing. Do you know that there are? I don't know if you looked into this, Chris, but there are over 50 addiction and recovery programs or podcasts on YouTube, 18 of which are fully sponsored.
Is that
Did
right?
you know that?
I
Yeah,
had no idea.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Well, how the fuck do I get that?
Well, part of it is you have to work hard at it. It doesn't just fall into your lap. But
No,
no,
I'm
seriously,
just fucking around. I'm not even.
seriously, the way they start is that you have a platform, you got one and what have you, which springs off of another platform that is widely viewed and what have you, and you go around to these various different organizations that have an interest in recovery and sobriety, that are like healthcare professionals, addictionologists, physicians, treatment centers and facilities, the law firms, any number of different types, that would spend a couple $100 to sponsor one. And keep in mind that it's like watershed advertising for them. They're doing a good deed.
Oh yeah,
And
for sure.
it's watershed. That's the whole theory of it. It's watershed advertising. So they're getting their name out, but they're getting their name out in a positive way. Because they're sponsoring something that's good and whatever. So that's the theory of them. What have you.
Who knows? Maybe someday.
Well, whatever, you try your hardest. And, it's like I said, to Jimmy, and to others, a lot of people, like the perfect crowd or whatever, they think that they know you. Okay. They don't know you.
Yeah.
They don't.
No, they don't.
I mean, they don't.
Well,
I can say this with the greatest amount of authority and history with regard to Chris Ladrago. Okay, if you think I'm speaking directly to the icky people, okay, to the perfect people, if you think that MobTube means anything to him, you are wrong. Okay, it doesn't. It's nothing more than a currency machine. That's it. Okay, when he closes the computer, he's gone. It's a currency machine. His passion lies in this work.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what they don't understand. That other
They
horse
don't.
shit,
They
it
don't.
funds this. That's why I can
Yeah.
take time and do this and say I don't need donations.
Yeah.
It's my way of funding this. It really is.
Yeah. It's nothing more than a currency machine. MobTube is an interesting platform. There's no question about that. It's interesting. It's a story that has endless chapters. There is constantly new characters coming in. There's old characters leaving. There's new stories, new drama. I get it. Okay, there are beefs that go on, then there are beefs that end. It's really a microcosm of American life in many ways. Okay, both the healthy side and the sick side. Okay.
It's true.
That's what it is. It is an evolving story of characters that come in and out.
Oh yeah, it's a reality TV show. 100% is what it is. Yeah,
exactly.
And
exactly.
it's funny. For the most part, it don't bother me because I know certain people are just assholes and they just got a fucking a constant bone to pick with me at all times. They're angry about whatever I do, but. Leather-faced hooker horse slut bitch from a slob tube named Angela, the right winger. Right now, this whore, she made a whole show apparently about the fact that I don't have sympathy for Chomo Inc. And apparently I have to. If you have an addiction, you could be a full-blown pedophile. If you have an addiction, apparently my job, because I do this, is to feel sorry for you just because. No. Some people are pure evil and they just happen to have an addiction. Some people have addictions and that changes. We've seen who Rosso is sober. We've seen who he is high, and he's the same fucking guy. Okay, but Angela and people like that, and I don't even want to get into this too long. I just want to mention it because of what you just said, Don.
Yeah.
Angela, did you ever do a show when I took a kid to rehab, when I drove across 2 states to bring him to rehab out of the kindness of my heart? Did you ever do a show for about how many people I've helped through these shows? Have you ever done? Did you do a show the other day when we had that beautiful show for Mims? How about Kimberly Berlin's appearance? No. They look for the negative stuff, and that's why I'll always be the devil here. I could do 500 good things, but I do one bad thing. I'm pure evil.
Well, and those people, you can't, you can't talk to them or reason with them or what have you. It's like talking to a person underneath a pond of water and trying to get the message through. They're not going to hear you. And so why bother trying? That's my view of it. It's a waste of time and energy and what have you. But again, I want to reiterate with the greatest amount of both the sincerity and I hope integrity, okay, to the people who are doubtful and what have you. If you think that Chris Ladrago and his so-called fidelity and loyalty to MobTube, you're sadly mistaken. That is not him. Right. I am telling you, I have talked with him endlessly, in different scenarios and what have you. The person whom you see on the air there is not the Chris Ladrago that you see in regular life. It isn't.
No.
The Chris Ladrago, he's actually an introverted person. Okay. Yeah. He's a classic introvert. His primary focus in life only comes down to 3 things: family, friends, and recovery. sobriety.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the
Well,
prism through which
the fourth
he looks at it.
one is money, and then the fifth one is sneakers. But yeah, you're right. You're absolutely
I
right.
was going to say
Yeah.
sneakers.
I don't like
Yeah.
people don't understand. Like the other night, I ended a show and I sat with my stepson and I looked through photo albums, shit like that. Like this, my life is about my family. My life. I'm just listen. I got a hustler's mentality. So
Well,
when
yeah.
I see the fact that I could sit on YouTube, talk a little shit, and make crack money, I'm gonna do
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's who I am. It's the same way. I've done everything in my life. I've sold drugs. I used to sell knockoff purses and sneakers and shit, whatever. If I get a job, my first question when I get hired is, how do I make the most amount of money as possible? What
Yeah.
positions do I have to move through? What ladder do I have to climb? And
Right.
believe that in every single job I've ever worked, I've done that. I've
Yeah.
done exactly that. That's the way I am. So
Sure.
no, people don't understand who I really am. War, you can attest to this. One of the first times we spoke, did me and Shannon that any do to help you, we will do.
Oh, yes. 1,000%. Yes,
Me and
every time
Shannon,
we talk.
yeah, they spoke to
That's-
War. The first time I spoke to War, me and Shannon wound up both speaking to him. It's
Yes.
I don't talk about every fucking thing that happens behind the scenes, but I do a lot more positive than I do negative. People just don't want to recognize that.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I was saying. I try to look at things as objectively as possible. Someone asked me, like I think in the chat, what is my background and so forth. So I'm a senior intel analyst and a subject matter expert, level 4, which means I have 20 or more years of experience in my area of focus of expertise, supporting the Department of Defense and the intelligence community. That's my resume paragraph. That's about what I'll say. Don't ask me what I do for my work. Don't ask me about my work. I'm not going to talk about it. But that's my title. But going along with that title is this, okay? I try as hard as I can to call the spares and the strikes as they are.
Yes.
As senior intel analysts, we're trained for years and years and years of training to look at the zeros and the ones and the malevolent forces that skate between the two. Okay, that's our world. We don't cook the intelligence. We don't cool the intelligence. We try to present them the way it is. When I was on Jimmy's show, okay, earlier today, I talked about Angel, and I talked about how I look at her in the light most favorable to her. And I said very clearly, and I believe this with all my heart, that she could do incredible things on this platform if she wanted to. She could accomplish a phenomenal good for her community because of her background, because of what she grew up under, because of her father's story, because of her brother's story, what happened in her neighborhood, the trauma that she had to have endured as a child, knowing that any moment her father could be dead one day or indicted the next. Okay. And the uncertainty in her home and what have you had to have had an effect upon her and her entire family.
Yes.
Yeah. She could talk about the loss of her brother. That had to be devastating. I know of a circumstance where in my own family where a young child was lost and destroyed the family, destroyed in a accident that occurred. So Angel, has incredible potential to do good. Here's the problem. And that is that she made the mistake of surrounding herself with evil. Okay. People who were of the lowest of the low and took her down with them to a place of darkness for which she could not see the light of her good that she could bring to this platform. I think that she has every potential to be not only a good content creator, but a good person and to come away from what she's gone through. But if she wants to do that, my best advice to her is leave these people that have leached onto you behind. okay, and do your thing from the heart and go
Yes.
forward. Tell your
Yeah.
story from your heart, and you'll do great. You'll do great.
She could be phenomenal, but
Yeah,
when it comes to doing something good, you have to get past yourself first.
yeah,
Because doing
yeah,
something good for somebody else isn't necessarily about you, or trying to build up your resume or your cred or whatever. It's got to come from a, a desire to truly want to do good
yeah,
and to see better for people's lives. If you've got
yeah,
that straight, then you're
yeah.
not going to have any trouble doing good things.
No. Let me address something real quick, guys. So this guy came in here. They blocked him. His name is Roger, and he said you just had a guy from your chat give a woman drugs and then leave her for dead, and you say the other side is sick. Roger, let me talk to you like your father. Okay, and I implore you to grab this link and come on here, you cocksucking coward, and we'll talk. Let me tell you something. Uh, I have zero control, bro. Zero control of who the fuck is in my chat if I don't know what the fuck they're all about. Do you understand? Like, for instance, somebody could just come in here like this. I don't know who this is. They seem to be a good person, right? But I don't know that person. And they could come around and come around and come around and chat.
Sure.
In your mind, because again, I'm supposed to be perfect. I was supposed to predict the future and know, oops, I better get rid of Neil because he might try to fucking kill someone one day. Yeah, bro, let me tell you something. He's in chats on the other side too. It doesn't make a fucking difference. The guy was everywhere. Okay, and you guys can push that blame shit for this side, whatever the fuck you want. I can't. You think that as soon as somebody comes in here, I do a fucking background check on them? Works. It's an open fucking chat. Unless you do something disrespectful, you could stay here. We didn't know that motherfucker was the animal that he is, but look what I'm doing to him since we found out. But since you wanted to mention the other side and say they're not sick, let me tell you what it's made up of. A kidnapper, an old hillbilly kidnapper, a scumbag who claimed to be a murderer to impress people and actually used to break into homes and steal people's fucking underwear. You got a couple of children of mass fuck entire lives defending those mass murderers, okay, and bashing good people on their behalf. You got a whore in Long Island, a horse actually, who makes it her business to try to ruin people's lives on a regular basis, including getting their children taken away or getting them locked up. Oh, also getting them fired from their job. And last but not to mention a couple of adulterers, that horse being one of them. But last but not least, a neo fucking Nazi who has a picture on him for how many deaths exactly, Don? 6 million Jews plus
yeah,
what
yeah.
are we in the 27 million? Something
Yeah,
like that, lives lost?
8 million Jews and 25 million Russians were killed in the as a result of World War II. But
Yeah,
to
and that
to
guy
that,
from the other side keeps a picture of him on his arm.
well,
Go ahead.
that's my point. Okay, so let's talk about it from what we were talking about before, amends. Okay, so if MRE was truly seeking to make amends for his past and try and walk away from the things in which he was doing in the past. Number one, he would not have a member of the KKK on the air with him. Number two,
Oh yeah,
if
yeah.
he
I
had,
forgot to mention that Angel brought a member of the KKK on, but it wasn't her fault. MRE didn't tell her
right,
who he was. Go ahead, there,
exactly,
bud.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's number two. Number three, if he wanted to really make amends and change, okay, for the better, there are many ways in which he could go to a healthcare professional and have Adolf Hitler's picture taken off of him, so that he didn't represent the reprehensible figure that he is and that he sees every single day. I mean, those are the kinds of signals that a person does when they are saying, "I'm sorry for having
Yes.
done something like that." But what does he do? Okay, no, no, he doesn't do that. It
No.
is I can forgive just about anything in in the way in which people do things and what have you. But that's something that is unforgivable to me. It's pure evil, pure evil.
Yes.
So, to come in here and suggest that Chris or myself or anybody else is supposed to be some sort of a time surfer and be able to walk forward into time and say, okay, in 2 years from now, this guy Neil is going to be responsible for irreparable injury upon another person. And boy, I better not put him on the.
Well, remember, Don, I've been talking the last few days. The funny part, and we'll get back to addiction recovery after this. The funny part about these people, the people who hate me, is that I am both the most flawed, fucked up loser individual in the world, and at the same time, I am perfect. I am literally Jesus, who is supposed to know ahead of time who the fuck might do what, who's bad, who's good. People.
Well,
hold on, Don. Hold on. These are the same people that choose to ignore shit like this from their side.
Fat piece of shit. Look at that.
Look at this monster.
Yeah,
She
fat. Look at
lied.
the fucking tits hanging off her side.
She lied and said she was a beautiful blonde. So this guy fell in love with her or whatever. And then look what he came to. Picture you're thinking you're going to meet a beautiful woman you've been talking to for years. And this is the creature, the specimen that crawled off somebody's shoe while they were marching. Cabal-mating liars.
Look at her.
That's how World War I started. You know that?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine over there. That's perfectly fine. But me, I'm pure evil.
Well, bro, let's do this. Usually somebody who's got a mouth like that, pipes up like that, they wouldn't want somebody digging around in their life, pointing out the things where they have failed and fallen short. And I'm sure this guy has nothing he can attach to his name as far as something good. He's just a clown behind a keyboard wanting to get his little 10 seconds of recognition. So he got his shout out. Kick rocks, moron.
Yeah, so there you go, Roger. There's the answer to your fucking question, jerk off. Go ahead, Don. I'm sorry.
Well, I think, again, I look at this issue through the prism of recovery and sobriety in this respect, okay? People that are seeking to make amends, which is to say change, okay? What can I do to change? That's what amends means.
Yes.
I look at MRE and others and what have you, and ask them, what have you changed from your past? To make others believe that this was a mistake that you made, a terrible mistake that you made. And the answer to that is apparently not much, because his, the shows that he's had and what have you. But that, going back to my other point, and that is with regard to, my heartfelt message to Angel. I look forward to the day on MobTube, YouTube, whatever you want to call it, where I can see a program that Angel is sponsoring, helping a woman who has been terribly abused, helping a woman who has found herself in the narrows of her life because of circumstances beyond her control, and bringing together other women to help support that person. I look forward to that, because nobody could speak better and more eloquently than Angel about abuse, about trauma, about what it's like living in that kind of family. She would be such a star at this, and I hope one day to be able to see that, and I'll be the first to subscribe.
Yeah, let me ask you, Don. You know something I was noticing today with Jimmy. Yeah. One of the reasons I have the love I do for Jimmy, because he turned his life around completely, as have I. Okay.
Yeah.
He turned his life around completely, and anytime you're listening to him speak, somewhere in there, he's gonna drop the message that the streets will never love you back, that this life is bullshit, kids don't want to get involved in this and that, blah blah blah. He tells you all day long how bad that life is, and he passes a message of positivity. Okay,
Right.
I do these addiction recovery shows. Why are all these people who are on here who are so high and mighty? Why have I yet to see them do anything positive for anyone? Like you just said, Angel could use her platform for good. That pig Angela could be doing videos about what it's like to be a mob whore, and why young girls don't want to become one of those. MRE could denounce neo-Nazism and fucking get that tattoo covered up and tell people why you don't want to enter a white supremacist group. Anybody. There's even people on this side who have had horrible experiences who could talk people out of making those type of lifestyle choices. Why is it that nobody does anything positive on here? Why do you think
That's a
that
very
is?
that's a very very good question, and a complex one too, because of the different characters that you're dealing with, and like anything in life, there's good and there's evil, there's good and bad, there's what have you. My particular belief is, and I try to, in my work as well as in my life in recovery and whatever, I try to boil things down to the simplest because I'm not a conspiratorialist at all. So for this particular question, I think it comes down to the old trite saying, and it goes something like this: healthy people attract healthy people, and sick people attract sick people. Okay, it's just that simple. When sick people come together, it is not within their purview, nor is it within their vision, nor in their desire, really, or their capability to consider doing anything that may be good or that may be helpful for a community and what have you. That's just not within their life's experience or their desire. So it's not that they haven't done anything, it's that they're not capable, because it doesn't even enter into their thinking.
Isn't that a
Um,
shame?
it's tragic because, see, as I said, in the case of Angel, I know that she could bring to this community, to the platforms, incredible good. Absolutely,
There's no
absolutely.
doubt about it. She's got a huge name, a large
Yeah,
platform.
right.
Listen, me and Angel have been at war.
I
There's no
know.
doubt she's done horrible things I will never forgive her for, and I've done horrible things she will never forgive me for.
I
But there is some good in Angel. There's no
Yeah,
doubt. She's done some evil shit, don't get me wrong, and her
yeah,
mind is polluted with that mafia guys are good guys shit. But
yeah,
she does have some good in her. She could use her platform for something very positive. A lot of people can. I don't even want to just talk about her. A lot of people can. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? I
yeah.
told Tony Soflo once, I'm like, bro, you should do shows telling people, what. I mean, he's got to have fucking countless stories about
All
the
right,
shit he went through in federal prison, what it's like, the people
all
he's
right.
met. Why not do shows? And I think he might someday. Who knows? But why not do shows about the dangers of the street life, kind of like Jimmy does? There's a lot of people that could do different things, but particularly that other side,
Yeah,
because there's zero positivity coming from that side. Zero.
yeah, and as I say, I think the reason is because when you congregate amongst people who are sick, um, that's who you attract, and and if you look at, and it's very hard for me to say this because I know people will say, well, you're being very condescending and looking down upon them and saying we're better than you and what have you. We're not better than you. Okay. The people over, if you will, on the addiction and recovery side of the equation, or programs like it and what have you, are flawed people. They are
Yes.
injured souls, okay, that have many, many unforgivable acts of bad that have occurred in their lives at their own hands during the darkest times of their life. Okay, let's make no illusions about that. Okay, but the question really is, can those same injured souls come together and create a new soul of good? and go forward, you know, in reparation and an amends to what they did in the past. That's what keeps me coming back, you know.
Yes.
So, you know, to the folks over there and what have you, or anybody, frankly, you know, I don't want to point fingers at them. I truly want to believe that that if they look deep within themselves and what have you, they can find something that they can do to help somebody else in a positive way. So, you know, I look forward to that day when it occurs. Will it occur? No, I don't know. And to your point about, you know, the things that others have done to you and said about you, and you know, and all of the history and what have you, you know, there's a big difference between forgiving and not forgetting. Okay.
Yes.
And yeah. You know, I am one who is capable of forgiving about anything or anyone. Okay, but that doesn't mean I forget. That doesn't mean I forget.
No, because this is forgiving someone is not absolving them of their responsibility of what they did wrong.
No, it's just it's your no. It's your way of coming to peace with it and saying,
Yes.
I'll do my best to put it behind me and we'll move on from here. But
Yes.
I'll never forget what you did.
Yes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I'll never forget what you did. That's how I
Yeah.
am. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
certain people I'm not mad at anymore. But you
No.
think I've forgotten anything they've done to me?
No.
Mhm.
No.
Not at all. You know,
No.
that's a warped conception of forgiveness, that that everything is rosy and you know, it's all puppy love from here on, hogwash. You know, I don't want you to have to pay for what you did. I don't want anything bad to happen to you. But if you think that the trust you've violated between me and you is going to be the same, you got another thing coming.
Well,
No.
and also, you know, forgiveness has to have an element of reconciliation. You
Yes, sir.
have to reconcile yourself with what you did. There has to be resolution, which is to say, you have to be able to say, okay, I did what I did. I'm putting it behind me, and now I'm moving forward, doing something different. So,
Don's freezing.
hello, hold on. Can you see me
Unfreeze.
now? I'm frozen.
It didn't work.
What?
You're
You
frozen.
see me? I am.
Yeah, now I can see you. Now you're good. Now you're unfrozen. I said unfreeze and you obeyed. Thank you.
It's cold outside. It's cold outside and rainy, and that's why I froze, because it's freezing. Yeah. It reminds me of when I was in treatment. It was so cold that you couldn't leave the dorm or the house, otherwise you'd be dead. That's why nobody ever left. You know. But anyway, so bottom line is that, you know, don't expect people to change when they're not willing to change themselves. And
Yes, sir.
you're not going to see that. You
That's
know, I
right.
mean,
And that's why I said don't beat yourself up. I'm famous for that. I'm very hard on myself, but don't beat yourself up. There's 1,000 people out there that'll do that for you. Okay.
wasn't that the truth? Isn't that the
Yeah,
truth?
no shit. Well, listen,
Yeah.
unfortunately, because of some comments and stuff, we got sidetracked off the subject to an extent of
Yeah.
addiction recovery. But I got to end the show. We've been on, this is the longest addiction recovery show I've ever done, and I thank you guys for that. If I was
Listen,
talking on my own, I would have been done in an hour.
I don't know how you do this, Chris. I don't know how you do these long shows alone, because, you know, like when I was the show with Jimmy was 2.5 hours long. Okay, I didn't have any voice left after that. I mean, doing it alone is got to be like
Don,
unbelievable.
my voice is always fucked up. My throat always hurts. You know what I mean? There's nothing I can do. But I'll tell you what, even tonight, damn near as soon as, once this show is over, I'm going to eat something because I'm fucking starving. Then I'm going to come back on and do, even though I didn't want to do any shows today, this is the last day of the month to earn my fucking paycheck.
Yep.
and I'm
There you
go.
determined to make it at least what it was next month. So when this show is over, I'm gonna eat something. I'll come back on, and we're gonna talk about meal. But in the
Yeah.
meantime, before this show ends, because I
Yeah.
am gonna end it in a few minutes, what are your guys' last words, addiction and recovery related? What do you want to say to Sam Pay It Forward or to anybody?
I'm gonna let War go first.
No,
Okay.
thanks. Um,
Well,
let me
listen,
understand it here.
I'll start it off like this.
No,
My Ward, just so you know, to give an example of what I'm talking about. This is my advice to anyone, and this is all I know. As far as what to say, as a solution or something for people struggling. My only advice I could give is, and it's because it's what saved my life, is if you are struggling, as hard as it may be, and as much as you might be afraid to leave your addiction, because that's what keeps people from treatment, the fear of leaving their addiction. Get yourself somewhere. Get yourself, if you're not willing to do rehab, for example, but your addiction is something like cocaine, benzos, or opiates. Not cocaine, I'm sorry, alcohol, benzos, or opiates. Go to a detox. It's 7 days. Go to a detox. At least give it a shot. Maybe without treatment, you won't make it. Maybe you will, but at least give it a shot to get clean. If you are willing to go to rehab, maybe just an outpatient rehab or inpatient, look into your county or government resources and see what kind of funding you can get if you can't afford it on your own, and get your ass somewhere immediately or as soon as possible and get help. And hopefully you will be clean and sober like I am, and many of us are, War and people in the chat, Don Berlin as well. And, you can join us on these shows once you're done with treatment, and you'll have a completely different state of mind. That's my words.
because you're worth it. You may not
Yes.
feel worth it. You may feel like the biggest failure on the planet, but you're worth it. You deserve better for yourself, and better
Absolutely.
is attainable. All you have to do is take that first step, and like you just said, get somewhere, because you're worth it. And that's all I would say.
I think the way I would end it is something I said, almost over 30 years ago at a meeting. I'll never forget it. It was inspired by a young guy that I met who unfortunately is no longer with us. But coming into recovery is the most important thing I ever did for myself. Leave behind everybody else in your life in this consideration of whether you should come into recovery or not. Do this for yourself and only for yourself, okay? Because at the end of the day, you come into this world alone and you are going to leave this world alone. This is a gift that you can give yourself that will keep on giving if you stay with it. I know for myself that is true. I came into this world of recovery with nothing. 3 paper bags of dirty laundry, $358, my insurance card, whatever. That's all my self-worth was worth. That was all that I came into the halls of McBride, And as a result of recovery, I've been able to gain so much. And you can too. The thing that I've learned more than anything else from Chris and this platform and what have you, is that by coming here, you will come and have a moment of peace. Okay, you can listen to us, listen to Chris, listen to laughing. You can talk with people in the chat. At least you'll have a moment of peace. All right, and reflect on whether or not this is for you and what have you. So God bless you, and keep on trucking. Reach high for your highest hopes, dream your greatest dreams, and they'll all come true, and many more if you stay this sober, just one day at a time.
Absolutely. Yeah, without a doubt. Those are the best words I could think of to end this show. All right, War, I love you, bro.
I love you guys.
Take care. God bless.
Love you,
Talk to
Ted.
you soon. Yep.
Yes,
All
sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, Don. Oh, shit, Don, you didn't have to. Oh, my God. Don, you just jumped off. I was going to say, oh, Don, thank you for coming on the show. Your words of wisdom Your words of wisdom are priceless. We appreciate you. We love you, Don Berlin. You're the fucking man. You're brilliant. You're a genius. I am very grateful for your friendship and for your presence on this show. But no, you just clicked off like JC does. How dare you? God damn it, Don. All right. So that's it, guys. This was a phenomenal show. We got sidetracked for about 30, 40 minutes because of some ignorance. And I had to point out some things because every now and then I just get pissed off, you know? But there's a lot of time for that. I am going to end this show now. And then I'm going to eat something very, very small and low in calories. Okay? And then I'll be back. And this one is for Neil. So you can imagine what it's going to be like. And you know what? I don't even know what I'm going to say. But fortunately, I have some sort of talent with these things. I'm going to come off the top of my head. I'm going to invite Neil on the show. I'm going to drop the link for him. I'll bet you $1 zillion he's not going to show up. But the point is, I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to tell him what I really think of him. And anybody who would like to join, anybody, any of the ladies, anybody from this chat, anyone at all, please feel free. Let's finally vent about Neil. Because you know what? I think he has it coming. And that's it, guys. Write these numbers down. Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, a National Addiction Hotline. Keep them close to you. Keep them on the fridge. Keep them in your pocket, your purse, your man bag, your wallet, your fanny pack. Put them in your sock. If you're a kangaroo, put it in your pouch, whatever it takes. Just have those numbers close by just in case of an emergency. If you feel like you're going to relapse and you need someone to talk to, and for some reason you can't get a hold of anybody, call that number for the National Addiction Hotline that is about to come up in a second. And if, God forbid, you're thinking about doing something drastic to hurt yourself or someone else, call the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988. All right. Let me just pull up some last comments. And then I am going to bounce. Don't waste your life, Tatone says. We're only here for a minute. Enjoy it sober. Fucking right. Well said. Michael Hensley, we're lucky to have Don Berlin in our community. People, yes, we are. Miss Mickey the Bully wore it was great to put a face to that sweet person in chats. Yes, he is an absolute a gentleman of a guy and a good dude all around, and I'm proud to call him a friend. Mike Fleming, damn, I missed it. Sorry, FBS was doing yard work. Thanks for always doing. Oh, did you mean to say thanks for always doing the addiction recovery shows? War, good to see you up there. No. Thank you for being here, Mike Fleming. Absolutely. You never have to thank me. Gemini 44, there's a message about Narcan. I'll leave that up for a second. Tatone said, thanks, guys. Great show. Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. Gemini 44. National Addiction Hotline phone number and Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. JFid says, hashtag carry Narcan. Yes, absolutely. There's some information about Canada if you need Narcan there. Jesse Roth said, good show. Thank you very much. Walt Liquor, you have a good weekend as well. Or good evening. I'm sorry. I was going to say the weekend's over. Benny D over. That would be nice. No doubt, John DeLong. I hope you guys are back in, say, 45 minutes for the next show. I hope you are, because it's going to be a good show, and I better make some money because it's my last night for the month. All right, guys. I love you all, and until next time, salute.